Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 5th of November 2017. Remember. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Once again, our podcast somehow ends up on the night of a million distant explosions.
Exactly. And Robert Kemp.
I quite like that. Sounds quite romantic, actually, in a strange way. And we podcast on the night of a million explosions.
I was walking through Brixton last night, and it pretty much did sound like the front from World War One was just over there in the background.
Well, I was in London last night, and it also sounded like that.
I'll tell you where it doesn't sound like that. Local news.
Ipswich.
Needham Market.
Yep. Needham Market fireworks got cancelled.
No, I saw
What?
I saw the sign when I came to your place last week.
What happened? I would have come all the way from London to go to that, so I'm glad I didn't.
Apparently, whoever was supplying the fireworks defaulted on the order, so they didn't get any fireworks.
What the fuck?
Wow. That's pretty bad.
That's a massive fail.
It's kind of the one thing you need, really.
For fireworks, yes. I mean, they could still have had the fire, I guess.
Did they do the torchlight procession?
No, I didn't see if that was also cancelled. The sign just had cancelled stuck across it.
In massive text. I wonder how much it cost to actually get those cancelled boards, like things printed. It's like,
is this like the notice board at the top of your road, Zach? What
no, it's like an advertising that they jammed up on the entry to Needham.
It was one near the lake.
As
you come out from the bridge, there was one around there.
Right, to make sure you know not to come because they...
Well, they also had to put it on the front of the newsletter as well. Which was weird because they actually... they had the advert with the date and time for the fireworks display, and then it was below that it just said "Stop press, it's been cancelled." Wow. It was why did you not delete the other part and just make the whole thing? Don't come to this.
Has that thing been modernised at all? Is it still like a black and white, million column thing?
Colour.
Column.
Some parts of it.
Oh, it's got colour. Oh, that's new.
Well, the front cover used to have colour, right? But the inside didn't. But I guess now there's actual colour.
I don't remember any of it being colour. All I remember is it had 4 or 5 columns of tiny text, and and the trick was to read across all of them. A single line.
So it didn't make any sense. The best bit is always the local policeman news about local ruffians messing with the plant plots and stuff like that.
It's a high crime area.
Yeah, exactly. It's always really
Apart
good.
from that one time when it was a high crime area.
When was that?
When the bank got robbed.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But that was
from that one time.
Yeah. I can't believe those people across the street didn't call the police. I don't think they really noticed. It must have made so much noise. I thought
they were just doing repairs.
Yeah, it must have been so loud in the middle of the night, like a giant JCB smashing into a building.
Because in theory, it only takes one loud noise and then a bunch of relatively quieter noises.
Do you think?
Pretty noisy. Yeah. Well, to get the rubble out of the way and then actually extract it, or however they were picking this thing up, because these things would be heavy, right?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy, right?
Just using a engine crane, right?
Well, yeah, but that would be pretty noisy because it would be on the back of those lorries have to run their engines.
No, just a mobile one. You'd probably jack it up on one of those. I don't know how much an engine weighs compared to an ATM. Probably similar.
Yeah. But normally you use the sort of cranes you'd get on the back of car scrappage things, and they have to run their engine, their diesel engines to do that sort of lifting, and so that'd be quite irritating.
That's not even that loud, technically, I guess. Just a car idling or a diesel idling, which is slightly louder.
I tell you, when it happens outside my house, that's quite annoying. But then I guess there's slightly less of a gap between my house and the road compared to what would be there. Anyway, local news. From 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So just to fill you in, listeners, it's not a big town. It's a village/town, I would say. I don't know. Anyway.
More like a town now.
Traditionally, it really only had that one cash point, as far as I know, in the bank, on the side of the bank.
Is it still? Are there any more?
Is that still true?
Now it's in the front of the co-op.
Right.
Because the bank closed.
The bank closed.
Where are we going to get money from now?
Was there a cash point at the Lloyd's, opposite the Swan? No.
I think there was at one point.
A really, really long time ago, I think that's true.
Because that bank closed real quick after we existed.
Because I remember, having to, my parents having to drive specifically to that cash point and park outside. And sometimes there'd be a queue of cars, like people trying to get the cash because it's the only place in the village where you could get cash. Yeah. And of course you needed cash at the time. Now you could probably chip and pin it or contactless it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you would hope all of the little shops down the high street have modernised at this point.
Yeah. I mean, now I
was there like middle of Saturday, admittedly, last week. That place looks busy as now.
Well, that's why.
Really?
That's why it's more like a town.
Is it all like fancy, like artisanal shops and shit that people come?
The high street's still actually got quite a few empty places down there.
Oh, really? So why
high streets have not recovered from 2008?
There just seems to be a lot of people and a lot of cars about.
Really? Weird.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing it quite that bustling.
But it's not like there's like loads of new housing estates or anything. I guess they are building one.
Yeah,
right?
there are. There's
there are a few.
The one in the quarry, the one where the
milk factory or whatever.
Yeah, the factory in the middle.
That's not very big
street.
though, is it? Right?
It's fairly big.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a reasonable amount of space back there.
And they've crammed in all kinds of like smaller constructions alongside the railway, like all down that length.
It's really confusing if you go buy it on the train now because it's just like I don't recognise any of this
it's quite
until you
weird.
get to Zach's house and it's like, oh yeah, right, okay.
Well, my old house has changed at the back.
Oh yeah, it's quite different.
Yeah. Anyway,
because for some reason they decided they needed even more houses.
Even more house, yeah.
Yeah, that's bonkers. So what are you doing with your space if you need more house on that house?
It even has a basement. I mean, come on. You already had more than an average amount of house. Crazy.
Need a market. There we go.
Market news.
No tiny explosions there.
Well,
yeah, I can't
plenty of tiny explosions, just no one focused tiny explosion.
I guess. Yeah, lots of tinier explosions.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure people will compensate where it's like, oh, we can't go out to the town one, we'll have to get our own.
I'll just buy some dynamite. That'd be more fun. Just make a crater where the fireworks used to be.
You think you could get dynamite in Paul's hardware?
Yeah, probably. Paul will know.
Yeah, just ask James Calver's mum. Where's the other one?
I need to get some. Get my hands on some TNT. How are you good for that? I've been waiting for this day. Says Paul.
So, this is apparently episode 200 of the Saladcast.
Woo!
Exciting times.
Double century.
Double century. Yeah. When did we start? Early 2010, I think.
Must have been. Hang on. So we're in season 8. So 7 and most of 8 years.
Yeah, this is the end.
How many times does 26 go into 200? There you go. Problem solved.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it would have been March 2010. That's when we started.
Indeed.
We've been doing this too long. Or not long enough. I haven't decided.
No.
We've been doing it too long on an individual podcast basis. Like per podcast, they're probably too long.
Oh, I see what you mean.
In total number of podcasts put out, maybe not long enough.
Maybe. That might be right.
That one will continue to grow. So we're going to do something special to celebrate, but for the time being, we better get on with our podcast. News time.
I have a semi-random video game segue we can talk about.
But what about random bullshit? Or is the news section too long?
It was, it's a bit long.
It's
a bit long and not that funny. That's the problem with Need a Market.
As is always when we talk about random shit.
The problem with Need a Market. It's just not that funny.
I wanted to talk about random kitten vision, of course.
Oh, really? What's happening now?
We had a real bad bottle of milk.
Oh, the mundanity.
Well, no, it's not mundane at all. It's actually kind of unusual for you to buy a thing from a supermarket and actually
it was
bad.
Immediately bad. I mean, it didn't just go bad.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't just want a coffee or a tea, and because you have quite milky teas, that's quite it's a key part of your tea.
A significant amount of my tea is milk, I guess. Yeah, like I didn't open it, which was probably the first mistake from my perspective.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't the freshest.
Yeah, because I didn't know that apparently the top was weird. I was told later,
right?
But still, maybe sealed, but maybe not properly sealed. Basically, we have no idea what the fuck was going on with this milk. But we managed to get through about half the bottle, and I had like 3 cups of tea, and I was like, "This tastes really weird. Did we get different tea bags? No, they're still the same tea bags." Like, has the kettle been washed recently? No, that looks perfectly normal. And then I didn't think to check the milk until like way later that day, and I was like, "Hang on a minute, I'm about to make another cup of tea. I should probably check whether the milk is weird," and it was.
So it wasn't like lumpy. It didn't have that.
No,
what did it smell like then? Because off milk has a very particular smell.
It just had a weird kind of chemically taste, a chemically kind of aftertaste.
Oh, that's like, how? And
I noticed it immediately on my first cup of tea, but apparently no one else. I mean, only one other person in my house has a sense of taste, so, so that kind of also narrows down the possibility of people detecting it.
I have accidentally made a coffee with some lumpy milk before, and it actually tasted all right up until I got to the bottom of it, and I was like, "What is that? Oh no!"
How did you not notice that when you were pouring the milk?
I don't know. I think I was dumb.
Yeah, okay.
Not very observant. Let's put it that way.
Yes, it didn't seem like it didn't seem like it was gone off milk. It seemed like it was just weird chemical milk.
Chemical milk.
And so far we haven't died, so you know.
No, nobody got sick or anything.
We did manage to drink like 2 whole pints of that, so
oh man.
Between us. And I couldn't believe that no one else recognised that it tasted weird.
What was wrong with
so who was it that noticed other than you?
I was the only one who noticed. And then when I figured out it was the milk, I put a post-it note on the milk bottle that said, "This is the thing that tastes weird."
Is that how you need to communicate? Because
it was like 3
people aren't around. Yeah, exactly.
I had to leave a message to be like, "Don't use this when you wake up, for God's sake."
Just in case I don't remember in the morning.
Well, I won't be there when they're going to use that milk in the morning. I'll be asleep.
So what was wrong with the lid then? That you said something about the top was weird.
Apparently, it looked kind of like more like kind of just foil instead of that kind of plasticky covering.
Oh, right.
But not like someone had replaced it or anything.
Plastic, maybe that was the chemical you tasted, like melted plastic.
Yeah, or like something went wrong with the sealer that like sprayed glue into it or something. Oh.
That's quite gross. You see that thing about Chicken Gate?
No.
Well, there was like there's this one like food factory like in the UK basically called Two Sisters Food Group or something that basically supplies all of the chicken,
right?
Like to like all of like the supermarkets and
things.
Is it
horse now? So we go back to that again.
It is actually chicken. It's just a bit like, you know, the sort of classic food scandals where it's like, oh, we've dropped an entire chicken on the floor. What do we do? And just put it back in the bucket, I guess, with the other.
Well, it depends on what point they drop the whole chicken on the floor.
It looked like just, you know, bits of, I don't know, like the bits of warehouse where there's like conveyor belts and stuff, and it's just like, oh, we dropped the chicken. Oh, we'll just chuck it in the bag of all the others. Or like, but the sort of weird thing was it was clearly like everywhere just gets its chicken from here. Like Marks and Spencer's chicken, exactly the same as Tesco branded chicken,
like
exactly the same as Sainsbury's branded chicken. It all comes from the same place.
Like most things all come from the same place.
Yeah, I know, but it's like there's some like really dubious bits because we couldn't help but notice that it's like, oh, they just took some Marks and Spencer's chicken and then put it in a package labeled Tesco's, and it's like, well, okay, I guess. Except then you look at the Tesco's like marketing, and it says they're exclusively reared for Tesco's on this particular Willow Farm branded
sometimes
nonsense.
They are, though, aren't they? When they get the actual local stuff.
Oh, what, so you reckon just because it was packaged in the same factory, the actual chicken could have come from
No,
somewhere?
I meant they do sometimes. There's versions of the supermarket brands that are actually local and they're processed locally. But they're
some, I guess.
Yeah,
but it was just that one struck me as a little strange because it's like, are the chicken actually do they segregate the chicken in this factory into this is Tesco's chicken?
I'm sure
so then exclusively reared by Tesco's is a total lie.
How do you know that was that from that place?
Because it was on the episode. Like an ITV reporter was like looking at.
He was looking at a chicken that he just brought from Tesco's without saying that it was one that specifically came from that.
He was in the factory.
But did he bring that chicken in with him?
What you mean? What you mean? The reporter just like faked some footage by like just walking in with a chicken.
Probably just didn't like give him a chicken.
There's just chickens everywhere. You wouldn't need to give him a chicken. He could just nick a chicken.
I'm sure he couldn't though.
Nicking a chicken. Anyway, chicken. Some people might have had some bad chicken.
Not really bad.
Well,
5-second rule chicken. It's barely bad anyway.
That's still pretty rank. I don't know.
But like I said, depends when they dropped it. If they dropped it before it was defeathered, it would be completely irrelevant. If they dropped it once it was been defeathered, even then I wouldn't say that was that bad.
It was pretty much like you would find it in the packaging was when it was dropped.
Yeah, but if it still had skin on,
But if you buy a whole chicken, you tend to be roasting it with skin.
Sure, but then you're roasting the skin like so hard. How clean do you think chicken skin is anyway? By that point in the process,
I assume they get like bathed. Right?
Yeah. So did it fall off the conveyor before or after the bathing?
Good question. Yeah, that's unclear actually from what I saw. Good question.
There's a lot of processing that you don't necessarily think about.
Yeah,
like how probably that was the recent chicken scandal in America, wasn't it? Where it was like too much chlorine because they're still washing their chickens with chlorine.
Oh yeah.
Delicious chlorine chicken.
Delicious.
If they had a bit of sodium, they'll be salted chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Not quite how that works.
Yeah, I know. One can hope chemistry is just mash these things together. There you go. Chicken gate, yeah. Any more bad stuff? Is your toaster still bad?
Yeah, toaster continues to be bad.
Didn't get them to buy a new kettle?
No. We're stuck with the bad toaster and bad kettle.
Maybe I should just buy you a kettle for Christmas.
Well, I'm definitely thinking that I'm just going to buy one and be like, screw you guys. But then I'm like, that's the kind of thing where I'd want to keep it for myself.
You have
to be maximum passive aggressive about it.
Personal kettle.
Right. Be like, this is my one. You can continue to use that shit one.
So where are you going to keep your kettle when you hide it away?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Special cupboard, and then lock it.
You have to put it in your room. That's all.
Yeah,
like a little mini hotel sort of setup.
Yeah, but I would want to make actual boiling water in my room. You don't want all that moisture in anywhere apart.
Don't you have your like weird little anti-room though? Like you've got your room and then like the room that leads to your room.
But there's no furniture in that room anymore.
That's not actually a room. That's a corridor.
Yeah. Is there no room in that corridor?
It's a lot smaller than it used to be. That little bit.
Oh,
regardless, any of those other rooms you wouldn't want to put a kettle in because it's not the kitchen. The kitchen is where the moisture goes, unless it's the bathroom.
To have a bathroom kettle. That's probably way worse.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea. You can have some weird milk in there, that's for sure. Okay.
Would you have to get a little mini fridge for your room as well?
Oh, we already talked about that before. Yeah. Whereas, like, if I wanted to segregate my stuff entirely, it would be a lot of effort.
You need to be able to lock the kettle to the counter or something. Put like one of those security locks.
Find a way to put a padlock around it.
Yeah. Like one of the ones.
The switch down so you can't turn it on.
Could you hardwire like a security pad into the power lead? So in order to turn the power on, you have to type in a code that only you know, and then. Because no one's going to go to the effort of like, I really need to use the kettle. I'm going to unwire this.
Just
thing.
Then you're making it inconvenient for yourself. That's
true.
It's only a few extra button presses.
Depends how passive aggressive you're feeling. Really, there's definitely a trade-off.
That's the trick. It's like how much are you going to inconvenience yourself to make a point? That's what I always used to do when people use the last of the sugar out of the sugar pot, and I'd be like, I'm going to just use the sugar directly from the sugar tin until someone fills that back up. I'm inconveniencing myself, but I'm making a point.
Yeah.
That could also just be seen as laziness.
It's not laziness on my part, it's laziness on whoever fucking didn't fill it up.
Well, do you fill it up if you're the one that...
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. Yeah.
And I'm often the one who ends up doing it. It's really annoying. With like butter as well, where it's like, why did you not get a new butter out of the fridge when there's like a sliver of butter left outside the fridge? And it's like... You know that you're going to, even you or me is going to use that last bit of butter. Just get the new one out in advance. So it can start warming up and not be rock fucking solid.
I'm going to shove it in my face right now. I'm just walking past. I don't even want the butter, but I'm just going to shove this sliver in my face.
Yeah, exactly. Just clean that up.
Just lick it up right now. On its own butter.
I'm very annoyed by that kind of thing.
Sometimes I do love how the worst story of the week you can come up with is I had some bad milk. It's the best.
it was unusually bad milk.
It is unusual. I'll give you that. It is bad in a weird way. It's not that it's just traditionally gone off skank.
No.
I will give you that.
Go on then, Rob. What's your story to top the bad milk story?
Mine was actually a positive story. I went to Distant Worlds last night at the Royal Albert Hall. The music of Final Fantasy as performed by the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra and the Maida Vale Singers. And with Nobuo Uematsu in attendance. It's amazing. Like just the best. Just one of the best things I've ever gone to see. Just
really?
Super incredible. Like the orchestra, obviously, like they've got heritage and stuff like that. They're going to be good. You knew that much. But these are some properly killer arrangements. Like just super well done.
Nice.
When they just you're in for a treat when they kind of know who their audience is when they go, right, let's get this concert started, and they just immediately play the victory theme, and then it's just like
that's the end, not the start.
Well, no, they ended on One Winged Angel.
Well, yeah,
getting the entire crowd,
theme.
Doing a little practice run to make sure everyone could say Sephiroth in time, which a mate of mine got totally wrong, which was hilarious. In the middle of it, he's just like Set.
Victory theme comes at the end, not the start. At the start, you just want to do one of the battle entry stings.
You know what? They didn't actually do any of the battle themes.
Well, there's wrong. I mean, I guess that is like the most obvious Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and it's also kind of most of them are fairly short loops, aren't they? Like most of the battle themes.
Until you get into like
the boss ones,
the 7, 8s, 9s, those start getting a bit longer.
Yeah. But yeah, so they didn't do any of those. They actually opened with just the main theme, right? Sort of the harp,
as you do,
and the main stuff, and that was overwhelming. I'll be honest at that point, because it's just like, okay, this is something special. Not only is this music really good, and we've always known that, but just the way it sounds in that building is ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah, like we all are a little bit. But you and I, Dan, are slight audiophiles, I suppose. We know what we like to hear.
Yeah,
and it's like I've heard nothing like that.
Sweet.
I've seen orchestras before. I've seen Gnomes orchestras before.
Orchestras quite regularly.
Yeah, and it's just I've heard nothing like that before. It's quite.
You haven't heard a building before. That's the trick.
Yeah, well, maybe
you've just been in generic ass. Places.
Maybe it is absolutely 100% just the nature of the Albert Hall. It was just.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just unbelievable.
The Albert Hall's a weird one, isn't it? Because it used to have bad acoustics, right? Because they didn't design it with acoustics in mind, and then they put all that weird stuff in the roof that you can see.
The mushrooms,
and that fixes it basically in an amazing way.
Yeah, it was just astounding. You can hear just about every bit of detail in there.
Nice.
It wasn't like a full size orchestra as well. It was like a sort of half size orchestra, but still enough to fill the stage and makes plenty enough sound. So yeah, they did some of my favourite stuff as well, like the main theme from FF8, Liberi Fatali. Just FF8's a special game to me at the best of times, but hey,
I wish I could figure out how to turn that off actually, because like my phone's on vibrate or whatever. But and my phone was going off, so I declined the call. But it's my iPad. Somehow it's connected to my phone. I wish I knew how to turn that off. It's really annoying. I'm gonna have to Google that.
I think they did have a fairly obvious option for it somewhere. Ages and ages ago when they started doing that. But
it's a stupid. Why would I want that anyway?
Yeah. It's like you sometimes get. No, Windows did that for a while. Like it would say, "Hey, someone calling you on your phone." It's like, cheers, Windows.
Well, Windows will try and tell us about North Korea while we're recording a video.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Twitter says
to stop your iPad from ringing every time your phone rings, go to Settings, FaceTime. That makes sense, and turn off iPhone cellular calls. Okay.
So it's like. It was trying to do a cellular call is somehow part of FaceTime on your iPad. That seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
So if you answered on your iPad with it and it was just a regular ass phone call, would that have worked?
Maybe, yes. I mean, maybe it would do VoIP to my phone.
Yeah. That's a bit weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we finally got to the point where you could actually use your iPad like a giant phone.
Hello. Calls from iPhone. Here we go. Turn that off.
But yeah, they did loads of cool stuff. They did the Oath from FF8, which is another beautiful track. The BB's theme from FF9. Fang's theme from FF13, which I obviously didn't remember any of it because it's from FF13. And then it's like, oh, actually, when you orchestrate this is pretty good.
Should have been fairly orchestrated in the game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
for 13.
You don't really remember the character themes from those games that much.
Or you don't necessarily know that it's the character theme in some of those games. It's just a bit of music that gets used at an important moment with that character, and then maybe some other time.
But most importantly, and I think it's only the second time they've ever done it in the history of Distant Worlds, is they did the full Final Fantasy VI opera, which is really cool. And quite long, but still really cool. Yeah, and of course, they had an amazing thing. If you can ever get tickets to it, it's just incredible. Packed house, 5,000 people.
Nice.
I don't think they do many shows in the UK that frequently, so if it comes up again, be quick.
Well, I'm going to the Zelda concert on the 21st.
Nice.
My brother got tickets, so I'll report back on that one.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll be good.
Where's that? Who's playing?
I think it's Hammersmith Apollo, so it won't be as good acoustically as... who is playing? Let's find out. But Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses. 57-piece orchestra. Is that big?
It's not enormous.
It doesn't say who.
Just an orchestra.
Let's see. Blah. I'm not going to be able to find out.
Oh, is that who's playing? Okay. I'm a big fan of his work. Shout out to Erp de Blah.
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 Well, no Dutch.
Oh, yes, exactly.
What are called conductors? There you go. Yeah, so that is pretty much how I spent my time yesterday.
Sweet.
And getting there was a pain in the arse, though, because I did the thing where we drove to Stratford and did that thing. Thankfully, we had forewarning from the mate we were driving down with that there was a West Ham versus Liverpool game going on.
You could have looked that up quite easily.
Yeah, I just didn't think it's football. I don't think about football. So getting there actually was a real pain in the ass, but we had plenty of time, so that was okay. Because he was forewarned. Football, as Gnome just sort of was sat in the car, and she was like, "Footballers!" He just hates football in all its forms. It always causes problems.
Curse all these people enjoying themselves.
Curse large quantities of general public.
Yeah, well, if you don't want large quantities of general public, don't come to freaking London.
Yeah,
freaking full of them.
Because for that matter, obviously we parked up at Westfield. I've never seen Westfield that busy, even. Blimey, it's just.
Well, you wait until Christmas. Jeez.
I know. Gnome's been there on Boxing Day, and she was like, "You know what? This is actually pretty close to that."
Right. Yeah, I think it gets to a point where people are like, I'm not going to go there on Boxing Day because that's going to be stupid. and then maybe there's less people there than you think.
I think Gnome was just sort of on the way back from because she was working Boxing Day last year and was just on the way back and thought, I'll just stop and pick up some things. And she did say it was a mistake, but apparently that retrospectively that amount of busyness might actually just be normal amounts of busyness.
I see.
Anyway,
news.
I've got really interesting random. So
it's news time. What's going on? You see something about Runic shutting down?
Yeah, so Runic has been closed by its parent company, whose name I cannot remember. But yeah, so they're the guys that did Torchlight 2, and most recently Hob, which I think has only just come out.
Yep.
And as far as we can tell, is an okay game, not setting up the world on fire.
And also was like completely unmarketed.
Yeah, well,
maybe was like, what did the parent company already know they were going to close it down? It's just like, let's just get this thing out and then we can close them.
Well, it didn't
spend no more money.
The only time I've really seen Hob was I think it was E3 this year.
Yeah, it was in some E3 presentation for like a second or two.
Well, he's got like a giant robot arm, right? Yeah, okay. And it's sort of a platformer, a little bit outside of.
I wouldn't call it a platformer.
Okay.
More than just like a Torchlight Diablo top-down thing, but with a little more manoeuvring rather than fighting, I guess.
Do you think if they had just done a Torchlight 3, that they would be okay? Because I don't know. I fell off Torchlight. I fell off Torchlight 2 hard. Like Torchlight 1 grabbed me in a sort of in a weird. This is a game I actually consistently came back to in a lunchtime sort of way.
Well, it's because they moved too far away from just like dungeons, made open world areas, which weren't actually that fun to go around in.
You mean maybe it was just a bit too big, too much exploration, too much.
Well, it's like lots of exploration for no real actual reward. Whereas at least when you're in a dungeon, even if you're exploring like dead ends and stuff, you're progressing towards an end goal. It just feels different. It's only psychological, I guess, because in the open world you were still making your way to a place. But
I guess a maze in dungeon crawlers is like every path leads to something. Yeah. Generally, it might not be the thing you're actually going for, but then in dungeons you just follow every path, right?
And also, large open spaces kind of
harder to explore, I suppose.
Kind of limit your ability to like maneuver in combat more effectively. Like, you don't have choke points, or you can't back stuff into a corner or whatever.
Yeah,
because you could accidentally walk into a spawn zone and have a bunch more enemies turn up. Something.
There was a bit of that, but yeah, you're right. I suppose you could go more directions that could get you into trouble, whilst already being in trouble.
And also, just like, even though in Torchlight 1 there was a lot of repetition, Torchlight 2 felt a lot smaller, even though it was a lot more like individualized content. Like, you weren't going through the same goddamn thing over and over, and it was like, oh, here's a sewer dungeon in the desert, and here's a deserty dungeon in the desert, and you only go there specifically for this one part of the story.
You think that was because you didn't really have, well, there wasn't a large hometown? Do you think that contributed to it? Like, somehow feeling like a smaller game because you didn't go back to this larger area?
Well, not really, because like the hometown in Torchlight 1 was tiny, and the dungeon was just like, you repeated the same thing over and over for like several floors, and then it's like, oh, now here's the scene change.
Well, yeah, or the boss. Or...
It's like not actually complicated in any way.
No, but it's kind of
but I think that
maybe it was a more satisfying loop.
Yeah. I mean, like right at the end of Torchlight 2, when you were getting towards like the end of the story or whatever, it's like now suddenly you have the ability to go into randomly generated dungeons whenever you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now I can go back to what I was doing in Torchlight 1 almost, grinding through the floors to try and get as deep as you can and get the best equipment you can. Maybe that was what screwed it up. Like, it turns out people actually like grinding to some extent.
To some extent, in a game specifically about dungeon crawling
and collecting better loot. And like, the further you get, the harder it gets, but the better loot you're going to get. It's the perfect feedback loop.
Which is pretty much what Diablo 3 eventually did, right? Yeah. When they added their endless stuff, it's like, people just like doing this from Diablo 2. Let's put that back in. And sure enough, that was a success.
So they could have made Torchlight 3, but like,
well, hadn't planned on doing an MMO at one point, like a Torchlight.
The whole of the Torchlight thing was meant to be a ground, like a basic game that they were going to use all the assets to make a bigger actual game. But every time that anyone ever says that, it's like that's never going to happen.
It's true.
just like the what was it called? The fucking thing that got screwed by the government of New Rhode Island or whatever.
Oh, what was Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh yeah, that's the one. where they were like, we're going to make an MMO. It's like,
made by the baseball guy.
Yeah.
And he had to put out like that adventure game first as a sort of proof of world concept.
Yep. And they had 10,000 years of story
yeah.
that they were going to use for their MMO. And then, nope. Although that was maybe a different case. That wasn't just because that wasn't a good idea. That was because they ran out of money.
Yeah, that one was actually kind of a bit of a shame. And probably a bit of a shame to that guy, by all accounts. It's like his heart was in the right place, but he just sort of mismanaged the money. Effectively.
Well,
and
lots of people mismanaged the money in that case.
Yeah.
It was just like people telling other people things that weren't going to happen and then betting money on it.
Yeah. And, Reckoning wasn't actually that bad a game.
It was like hella average.
Yeah, but, there was something to it at that point. There was something kind of... I teetered on the prospect of picking it up at the time. It seemed interesting. Anyway, Runic. A bit of a shame. I don't know. Although I haven't been wowed with their output since Torchlight 1, the one that made them.
The two other games.
Yeah. That first game did have something to it. They just didn't really progress past, I guess. I don't know. Maybe Hobbs better than people think. I don't know. But it always seems a bit of a shame, especially with indie titles. Right, because Runic is sort of an indie dev, right?
Sort of, yeah.
That game's just come out. It's not going to do first day sales, and even there's evidence to support that the whole idea of first day sales is kind of diminishing thanks to digital. It's like it's not really that. The impact of it, the first day isn't nearly as strong as it once was, but the tail can be as big. Or bigger, these days. So I
wouldn't have thought they were shut down for any reason to do with sales.
Yeah. Close range explosion.
Yeah, that's unusually close.
The cat does not approve. Cat's gone to hide somewhere. Poor kitty. What else we got? Who's next?
There's some weird.
Who's getting shut down next?
Yeah, exactly.
There's some Blizzardy news going on. BlizzCon, I guess, was happening, and they announced that StarCraft 2 is free to play. I don't know why they didn't do that earlier when they made their StarCraft 2 remastered thing, but there you go.
Question is
that the full campaign?
Yeah.
Or
is that just... only StarCraft 2, the one that came out first, or is it the other two parts of StarCraft 2 that actually make it a whole game?
Yeah, well,
because you could get a trial for StarCraft 2 that I think took you quite a long way into the campaign already.
Right. Well, I assume this is the full game with the Brood War expansion and everything that they...
Well, and the other expansion.
Not Brood War.
That's
StarCraft 1.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting it confused. Yeah.
Part of the Swarm?
Yep, and I don't remember what the Protoss one was.
No. The Protoss of the Protoss?
I mean, I might give it a try.
The Templar of the... Isn't there a Templar or something in it? Or something Templar?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Free single-player human campaign.
Oh, right. So it's only the Terran part. That's still fairly decent.
Yeah, that's not too bad, is it?
If you have a sudden RTS urge, there's no an outlet for you, I suppose.
Yeah, so you don't have to find your weird, Command and Conquer collection.
Yeah.
I do keep occasionally thinking about going back to Generals, because I just want to play Generals again.
Yeah.
It was a weird game.
It was weird.
Generals was
good.
It
was good. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay.
Sort of pondered fairly recently, actually, about whether it would be worth going through the World in Conflict campaign.
I've done that fairly recently. Yeah.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. It's still good.
What else happened? What else happened at BlizzCon?
There was a weird announcement about World of Warcraft. They're actually doing Vanilla WoW officially. Or World of Warcraft Classic, as they term it. And it's for it's for the hardcore or whatever who want it that way. There's no real concessions.
Do you get it as part of your WoW subscription then? Like, so if you have a WoW subscription, you can just play on the Classic, or is Classic a different model? Or
I think it might. I don't think they know yet, but I think it might be a different model, whether it's like a free-to-play thing or with some.
I think it would sort of make sense if it was just the same subscription, right? Like, to some extent.
So you would be able to.
I mean, it's good in some respects that they are doing this after they specifically went out of their way to shut down community-run WoW servers, for money reasons, effectively. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we should do that. Fair enough, but I don't know. Because it's a tricky one because, like, on some respects, it's in some respects, it's like, would a full subscrition price for original
for an old
WoW
make sense? No, not really. I wouldn't have thought.
No.
Unless you really want the original experience of paying loads of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that subscription hasn't changed, has it? Really? All of its lifespan.
I still don't know. I know very little about World of Warcraft these days. Like I knew about it when my friends were playing it, but that was when it was vanilla. So who knows? Maybe some of the people that like John and stuff and his dad will go back to vanilla World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I used to have my housemates at uni used to play a little bit of it at one point, and I never understood what was going on then. I don't know. This guy's character looked like he had a spinning satellite dish on his head, and it's just like, okay, this doesn't seem very fantasy.
And then you play Guild Wars and realise that it's always like that.
Wow, yeah.
There's always random bullshit that doesn't look right.
Space fantasy science. Space fantasy science. But yeah, that seemed. It just seemed weird then, and that was quite early on, I suppose. This was before they started modifying how the game actually functioned, I think, when I looked at it. It ran on fairly mediocre hardware, though, so yay that. Anything else?
Well, I remembered that I watched like the latest Star Citizen presentation. Have you ever seen any of those? You know, when Chris Roberts goes up and he says, "Look at all this fancy shit." I think
I think the last one I saw was when they were doing like Marines landing somewhere, and they were like, here's a thing landing. Here's like a dropship, and here's things coming out. I think it might have been when they were announcing the first person mode, something like that. I don't know.
Well, did that,
or the transition between modes. Or...
They did that big demo.
Yeah,
I think it was the first time the planets were out. But they did that bit where they did a lander, and then like they had other players doing like here's what it looks like to have other players driving past and retardedly crashing,
looking really stupid. Yeah. So they've done another big demo, and this one is like it starts in a city, like a massive, like a world-spanning Coruscant style city or whatever, Blade Runner type thing. And you can take off and just fly, and leave the planet or come back down on any other part of it that's full of more city. So they demoed that and flying up to so walking around in first person on a street, getting in a ship, flying to orbit, landing on a space station. And then what else did they show? Oh, and then they warped or whatever, their quantum drive to another planet. And landed on that, and that had a little city amongst, like, wilderness or whatever. And I think that was the whole demo, but it was just kind of.
I guess that was the thing. It was a transition.
Thing. Everyone goes woo whenever they does the transition, and it's all seamless, and there's no weird pop in.
They showed before, except I guess last time the planet they showed was a snow planet, so it's like now they actually have planets that have more detail, I suppose.
Yeah, so they showed some of their tools and how they generated procedurally to some extent these cities and stuff like that, and they did look pretty cool. Like everything about that game looks like a tiny bit soulless. Yep, and
the classic.
The classic's
like generic space game problem where it's like everything looks a little too generic like sci-fi space.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Would you argue Eve falls into that then? Or,
yeah. I mean,
Eve is okay though. It's got more character.
It has a style. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But then, so did Wing Commander, which is what this guy's thing, right?
Yeah.
Like Wing Commander had a style.
That's true.
I guess it's just like, I guess Star Citizen doesn't really have much concept of like races or whatever yet.
Not yet.
Like how Eve has, like that's why the ships in Eve actually looked interesting. Different races had different styles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because there's an insane community around Star Citizen, and they even though the game isn't out at all, like they all know all the different kinds of ships and shit and all that stuff. And people get excited about, like, there's like a news program that's like on YouTube that's like fully produced about what's going on with the development of Star Citizen. Like,
I'm pretty sure you can say there's a news program about anything ever on YouTube. Maybe fully produced, maybe semi-produced.
Semi-produced, yeah.
It's done like officially by the Star Citizen devs.
Okay. I think so.
Like a dev diary. I think given the scale of their project and how much money they've received, I think it would be bad if they didn't.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, I don't really care about the scale of the project and all that stuff. I mean, it's interesting, but what's more interesting is will it be worth playing in the end?
Yeah. I know what you mean, but it's one of those things like you've got to keep, because it's such an enormous Kickstarter, effectively. So crowdfunded.
Yeah,
and some of the items have been uber expensive going into this as well.
Yeah.
That they have to be seen to be making right. They can't go quiet.
So I'm just wondering, like, is Chris Roberts going to end up as like the new Peter Molyneux at the end of this?
Yes,
that's the question.
I don't know if
100% yes.
I don't know if it will be the same though, because if it turns out that he's like been doing a Peter Molyneux style thing of making ridiculous promises, he's still only doing it for one game.
Sure.
It might be a really huge game, but it's still only one game. It'll still only be one time.
Would it be more like the No Man's Sky problem then? He'll be like whoever that guy was from...
I think, but the thing is that, like...
Hello Games.
People compare No Man's Sky and this, and it's like, No Man's Sky, they did overpromise and stuff, but like, it was quite clear to me, looking at it, that it was like a limited set of procedural tools that was generating all this stuff. Whereas with Star Citizen, it's like, no, we're plowing loads of money into like modeling and content, and there's all these teams work on these different parts.
At some point.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's not like, hey, we're a small indie team making a whole universe, and this is how we're doing it. Instead, it's like, no, it's massive. So like,
I know what you mean, and it is different in terms of. And the mechanical scope is much bigger as well. It's not just asset scope. Like the mechanical scope is way different. But even with that said, No Man's Sky did. Yeah, the obvious comparison is No Man's Sky said some pretty big things about what that game was going to be. Even within that scope we've just defined, it said some pretty big things that didn't come to be. Except now they kind of have come to be mostly, but
like. All I really want is a game on the scale of something like Freelancer, maybe a bit bigger,
Yeah, a modern Freelancer would be interesting to see. Something a bit mechanically deeper than Freelancer.
Ideally.
Would be an interesting thing to see. Because it feels like no one's tried that in a very long time. No. Recent space shooters I've played haven't been all that. Like, I played Strike Suit, didn't I, earlier this year, which didn't really feel right to me. They didn't do it. Didn't scratch that same itch that the old Wing Commanders did for me. Or
I love a bit of Free Space 2.
Free Space 2 is the one I go back to and think, okay, this played really well. But if you want to talk about a game with no style, Free Space is kind of that for me. It's about as bland, generic space as you could get.
It had quite a good story, though, actually, once you got into it.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't bad.
But style is,
It actually went on for way longer than you expect as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you think you get to the end of it, and it's like, oh, no, this is just the end of the first act.
Yeah, exactly. It was really long. I've never got to the end of it.
Nope, me neither. I got to a point and got stuck. It was like an escort mission.
Yeah, it gets really hard. Have you ever been as far as getting like seconded to like the alien ship or whatever?
No. I know that happens, but I never got that far.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
I think the problem with like recent space games, like when I tried to play X3 and stuff, not that that's that recent.
It's quite old now. Yeah.
But like the trouble with them is a lot of them still try to be simulations, but like not. They either try and jam simulation elements into a game where it probably would have been better off just to make it more arcadey, because like Freelancer was hella arcadey, obviously,
and
that just made it a better game.
As was Strike Suit,
But then, or they have the other problem where they try and jam simulation elements in, but not like enough. They don't go far enough to actually make it worthwhile to be a simulation.
Yeah, they oversimplify, but then don't put fun stuff in its place. I think, like, you can go arcadey, go mental, go bonkers with the mechanics, in fact, but just have mechanics.
Because I think that was the problem.
Like, making it arcadey and simple doesn't just mean stripping out all the nonsense with engine management and power levels. It's like, you've got to put something else there.
Well, I think that was my problem with X3, was where, like, it tried to be a simulation, but didn't actually like give you enough ability to manage that situation. Where it's like, if you wanted to build your little space base and like build a refinery and build solar panels or whatever, it was just too goddamn complicated. It's like, it's cool that you can do that, and it's like, it's a nice simulation, and you can like produce products, and the market fluctuates, but it's so goddamn difficult to actually do that.
You know what? We're missing an elephant in the room here. Is Elite the game?
Yeah, Elite Dangerous. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know.
That sounded like it was too simple again, though.
Oh, but it's expanded so much since it first came out.
Yes, you still have to buy the expansions.
Sure, but they're probably like in a bundle now.
Or alternatively, the expansions are completely separate programs.
Maybe.
I still feel like if I wanted to play that, I'd want to get a joystick and all that shit as well.
Yeah, and I imagine that's awesome in VR as well, because it's one of the early VR-focused games.
You wouldn't want to spend too long playing that in VR, though.
You reckon?
Well, no, I just mean like playing VR games for extended periods is
No, yeah, maybe.
But it's a cockpit. You should be totally fine.
That's true.
You've got lots of stationary objects to ground your vision, I suppose. But,
Did you hear? I saw there's a really stupid thing where Logitech have released this, or I don't know if they have, but for the Vive, I think it is, where like you attach one of the Vive beacons or whatever it is. I think it was the Vive, to this peripheral that attaches to your keyboard, and then you can see your keyboard, their branded keyboard, in VR, so you actually, where it physically is in space, so it's easier to type on it.
Wouldn't that just be... Why do they have to put a thing on to say where the keyboard is? Couldn't they just, be all like...
it depends.
Can you just tell the game that this is where my keyboard is? It's not going to move because it's a keyboard.
Maybe.
Are you wearing it like the guys from Typing of the Dead wear Dreamcasts?
Well, I guess it depends. I guess it depends how closely you need to be able to know where your keyboard is and to actually get your fingers in the right place. I guess. How much of a visual typer are you still?
No, sure, but you can calibrate
the home row.
You can calibrate that rather than needing sensors to do it. I mean, I guess a sensor is cool in some respects, but
it was definitely over the top and ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah,
if you want a sensor like that, you want it on your mouse. So if you take your hand off the mouse, you can find it easier when you put your hand back on.
Yeah, that's true.
It is kind of a neat idea. Like I get it, but perhaps that should be baked into the. I wonder how they're doing it as well. Like, are they basically hacking games, or does the game have to support it?
Or an overlay layer, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. Anyway.
Where have you gone, Dan?
Dan's having hilarious mic problems.
Yeah, you were
fading out and fading back in.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're back. You're back. You were fluctuating a bit. I thought that was just my headset for a while, but it's like no. That time you just went into Mexico.
Well, it was further than Mexico.
I don't know what I can do about that.
That was Moon Dan.
I haven't Argentina.
I haven't done anything weird about my mic, so I don't know.
Australian Dan.
Anyway, I hope I'm back.
You are.
Cool.
For now.
Star Citizen. It's going to come out, maybe.
Maybe.
What else is going on?
Paris Games Week happened.
Right.
Not really a lot I want to say about it, other than Guacamelee 2 got announced, because we really liked Guacamelee 1.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So,
by all accounts, their follow-up, Severed, is actually a pretty great game, but I think it released on Vita first or something, because it's like a touch-centric game. And It is now out on Switch, and you can play it with the touch controls there. but I get the impression it hasn't done as well for them as Guacamelee did. So it's understandable that they might return to Mexicovania, or Luchamania. We put Lucha Metroid.
Lucha Metroid.
Metroidador. It was awesome. I love that first game. But,
yeah. Also announced Spelunky 2.
I've never played Spelunky.
Some people are obsessed with Spelunky. I need to.
Well, there's not that much to it. That's the thing.
That's why it's I guess it's quite
a
pure.
Game, even when they made it into an actual game and not like a flash game. It was still tiny.
I get confused because I think a game came out on Switch fairly recently called Spelunker Party, and it's like Spelunker.
Well,
it's not Spelunky.
People will tend to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't have anything against Spelunky, but don't care.
Well, it depends how much of a game this one is. If it's just like the sort of same concept and like not even much bigger. But if it turns into like some kind of weird extended dungeon crawl type thing, that could actually be.
You reckon if there's like a Frog Fraction style twist in there, and it's like this isn't the game you thought it was?
I mean, just like make it bigger, but like less like roguelike.
A bit like how SteamWorld Dig 2 changed up SteamWorld Dig.
Like make it more of a Metroidvania and less of a roguelike. I don't know. Don't know if that would work for Spelunky.
No, I think the roguelikiness is what drove its success, right? It's like I think they've got to stick to that.
But
just make it mechanically different in an interesting way.
I guess the question is like how large can you make a roguelike before it's too large? Because Spelunky was tiny, and then if you think about like maybe Enter the Gungeon, maybe because that's pretty fucking long.
It's reasonably long, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it takes a long time to get through.
It's not Isaac long.
Isaac isn't actually that long once you get good at it, though. There's a lot of time that you like once you learn how to manage Isaac. It doesn't actually take that long to get through.
I get well, initial Isaac, I guess not, but like for Isaac with all the extra stuff.
Well, even then, it's not really necessarily going to make it take longer. You just have to retain more information about combos and stuff, so you know how to make it work faster and better.
Yeah, I never got to the point where I discovered that much, and it was just like, what's this? I have no idea.
But like Spelunky, it had such a very small. It was like a very small set of levels. The tile set or like level parts that it used to create the levels was a small set as well, and there was a very small set of items that like it was quite obvious which ones were the good ones. So you discarded all the crap very quickly. So it became a very like tiny optimization that you had to do to just reach the end of that game essentially.
Did Spelunky have a bit like the Rogue Legacy thing, where not quite like Rogue Legacy because it had pre-made rooms that were then stitched together, but so you would see recognizable layouts.
Well, yeah, that was basically how Spelunky worked. Okay. Apart from it was just like screens, I guess, except not really screens because it scrolled. But
so the connecting tissue between them could screw you over.
No, there wasn't really connecting tissue between them. It was just like there was certain pieces that lined up, and then normally there was just like a hole that fell onto the top, like into the next room. Right. That was how it managed the transition most of the time.
You just keep going down.
Yeah.
Spelunky 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Call of Duty came out.
I don't know. I don't actually know anything about it. I know one person that's got it, and it's not Kippers. I haven't actually heard from Kippers.
Yeah, so maybe he does.
Yeah, I don't know whether he went
because he's too busy playing Call of Duty.
Yeah. No, a mate of mine picked it up, and I haven't heard any. He didn't have much to say about it when I first spoke to him, so I'll pick up more from him. I'm still not sure whether to go in on it, to be honest. Because I am intrigued. It's like I like the setting, but I would probably. I don't know. It's got to the point where I'm not sure what platform I would go in on. Like traditionally, I would get it on Xbox, right?
Yeah,
because then I could get the most out of the multiplayer. But the Xbone version is going to be the most compromised now, I suppose. The regular Xbox. Well, graphically, it's going to be better everywhere else.
Yeah, that's
performance-wise, it's going to be better everywhere else, probably.
Not massively though. I wouldn't have thought.
Or I would hope they'd have done a good, the good enough job to make it run, do the classics, like run at 60 the whole time.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But original X-Bone version is probably going to be the worse off, which then begs the question: so would this be worth going in on PC? But then I think PC COD is a very different beast from console COD.
It's a bit of a weird thing,
just because of how you control it. That's in the same way that Destiny 2 PC, it sounds like it's quite a different thing from.
Although I hear that port's quite good.
Oh yeah. No, like it's very well made, but the way it feels to play, it's very different. Not that it's bad either way. It's just a very different feeling game.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know if I want that from a COD. It's hard to tell. It's hard to know. I suppose I've never really done it. So
what is your kind of console plan at the moment? Oh, you have some news on that front, I suppose.
Well, yeah, but I bought a Switch.
Yeah, there you go.
I finally caved. It was
good decision.
Yeah, I couldn't resist anymore. Well, because a bit of it was like Mario Odyssey came out, and I was just like, I liked the look of that limited edition version with the red controllers.
Oh, nice.
And it's like I didn't get that one in the end because it was quite expensive. Because after having researched it a little bit, it was like, oh, actually, if I just get this from Nintendo.com, it's a pretty good deal. Like just straight from Nintendo, because they basically threw in an amiibo and a T-shirt for the same price everywhere else was doing the console and the game. So it's like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. I'll have a Splatoon T-shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Nice.
And it's
sweet.
And this is an excuse to get both Mario and Splatoon 2. So
and to finish your game of Zelda by borrowing Dan's cartridge
eventually,
transferring your save off points.
Yeah, so that was actually the news that pushed me over the edge more than anything. It's like firmware 4 dropped, and I think we might have talked about this last time actually, but
no, because you hadn't done it by then.
I guess not. But yeah, firmware 4 dropped, and so we did the process of. You could do profile transfers, and all your save comes with it. But the only complication is that your account on that console has to be tied to your Nintendo account, and the device that you're moving it to can't know about that Nintendo account.
And also, they have to be right next to each other.
So there's an awful lot of they have to be right next to each other, which was really annoying. So it gave me an excuse to go to Zach's for an afternoon, so which is why I saw Needham.
Well, it's not really an excuse. It was like I would have been coming to your house
the next day. Yeah, but I would have had a whole day with basically not being able to use my Switch.
Yep.
Because I would have had to attach it to a Nintendo account. It's like, so I couldn't wait basically. So I've got this thing. I'm going to use it. So I went to Zach's to do the transfer, which. Was okay. Yeah, I mean, you had to do it in person, but it raises an awful lot of questions about okay, why couldn't this have just been done over the internet? Both consoles have to be logged in, and you have to like type the credentials into both machines to make it happen. So you can't just instigate it from one randomly and steal an account. You can't do that. That side of it, I think, is kind of okay from a security perspective. It's like you can log in anywhere on an Xbox or on a PlayStation, so maybe this makes a bit of sense here. But the fact that it had to be done over local Wi-Fi, less so. The other thing was that you could previously attach your Nintendo account to multiple Switches to gain access to your purchases, but only one of them could be marked as activated at a time. Right. So you could manually use Nintendo services to switch which Switch is activated. Effectively, and then so you could still do that. But then, what if you wanted to transfer stuff from one Switch to another Switch, and both Switches already know about you? Does that make it impossible? Because one of the guidelines seems to be, one of the Switches just can't know about you. Do you have to delete your profile from one of them and move it over, then losing some save stuff? It's like it's a Nintendo-like solution. It's way too complicated to do something that everyone else has got done simply.
It's just like, in reality, it's just like, why can you not just put the saves on an SD card?
Yeah.
Because it has a fucking slot.
I know, but that's the vector for hacking, and Nintendo are super paranoid about it being another DS. And just getting an R4 cart, and then it's like, oh, we're done.
Where do the saves go on all your download games? They just go in there somewhere. Probably. I mean, they can try and keep them on the internal memory, but at some point that's going to fill up.
I think at this point in time, I think they can only go on internal. So it's They'll never save to the SD at the moment.
So then, does it have to move files around if you download a new game?
I don't know.
The internal space.
I guess not. I suppose you'd have to delete some save games. That's the only option at the moment, I reckon. Fortunately, I suppose it would take you quite a while to fill up 32 gigs of just save games.
Yeah, but you could also put games in there.
Yeah, you'd be forced to buy an SD card.
But what if it just fit? What if you downloaded downloaded a new game that exactly filled up your 32 gigs and then tried to make a save? Or then put in an SD card and tried to make a save? Because then the save should go onto the SD card because it's the only free space. But then does it have to move files around? To be I'm going to put some game data over here instead.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you're describing there sounds a little bit like what Microsoft's original idea for the Xbone was, right? It's like, you never have to worry about it. We're going to manage that.
Yeah.
Which promptly became a problem. And so they were like, yeah, all right, we'll let you manage that if you want. Yeah, so I got a Switch and we transferred it. And it's yeah, we'll talk about it a lot, I'm sure, this week.
Cool. I was going to say, because in the news section, because of course the new Xbox One X has come out. So.
Yeah, and people seem to like it a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean,
the new Dash update. The new Dash update for Xbone already made things a lot quicker than it used to be.
Yeah.
And so some people were saying, "Oh, the X this will solve all the original Dash problems, right? Because it will just be lightning." And it's like, well, no, we already solved it before this thing came out.
Right.
You know, from a powerhouse perspective, this thing does seem it seems to live up to its what it was claiming.
Pretty much,
part.
Really nicely engineered and doing amazing stuff, and also doing.
I've heard that thing is insanely
stuff.
Heavy. Physically, a ridiculously dense box.
That's quite funny. That's kind of cool. I quite like that. It feels weighty.
It's all the vapor, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For the vapor
just solid vapor.
What they're not telling you is the vapor is like mercury. So it's super heavy.
Right.
It's actually just asbestos.
I hear that it actually sort of quite cleverly upgrades games even without pre-patch. In some cases,
yeah. So some of the there's been some words about some of the 360 stuff now, back compat stuff runs ridiculously well.
Yeah,
cool. Better than the originals, and so the games that were unlocked, the frame rate is now improving, and some of the visuals are getting an uptick. And I think that some of that's intentional, right? They just made the 360 emulator just upscale. Run it at higher native where it works, and it's like, oh well, no, we can just do this, so let's do this.
Sweet.
Which is nice, and obviously games that are dynamic resolution will immediately benefit because they can just run it 1080 the whole time, rather than having to downscale.
Exactly.
When needed. So that's a given as well.
Nice.
I think I'll see if I can get some word, because Kippers is going to get one of those. Yeah, he had a Scorpio on order. So
a Scorpio edition.
Yeah.
What's different about that? It's just got that printed on the outside.
It's a slightly different finish to it, and it's got Project Scorpio written on the box and a sort of an edition number. I think it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, it's 1 out of 50 billion or something. It's just no difference in price or anything like that. It was just like, oh, if you get in early, you can get one of these with Scorpio written on it.
Nice.
A bit like the Day 1 edition Xbones, where it's where they actually didn't do anything to the console itself. Frustratingly, it's just they just put Day 1 on a controller. That is now my worst controller. It's the most broken of my Xbone controllers is the Day 1 edition one. Yeah. It's damn it.
So yeah, I still don't know if I was going to get one of these consoles, which one I would get. I think it's because the PS4 Pro is just the games, and it's just the games. That's the problem.
It's a really difficult problem at the moment because I would. It's a tricky one, but I think I'd have to recommend PS4 Pro at this point in time.
I know, but my other thing is probably the most important game is Red Dead for me, and it's a question of if that runs significantly better on Xbox One X, that would
undoubtedly.
That would be.
I mean, if that's the game you're after, and that's
kind of the game,
basing your decision on, then get the X.
But it's not the one thing, because I want to play Wipeout. I want to play this Spider-Man game. I quite like to play Last of Us 2 or whatever, and Last of Us, and games like this, I'd probably play those today, I'm sure. So
yeah, and there are some pretty cool little things like that are only on PS4. Like, you know, whenever I see the Cambridge lot, me and John end up playing far too much of Alienation, which is a strangely addictive little game, like top-down isometric shooter that you by Housemarque that you can only get on PlayStation.
Yeah, and
it's and the Housemarque games in general, they're there's another sort of exclusive. They don't have to be exclusive, but they are, and it's. PS4 has a lot going for it in the game catalogue. It's undeniable.
I think I can continue to defer my decision until Red Dead time. I've got plenty of Switch game to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And other stuff.
Switch is killing it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that next year is going to be as good as this year for the Switch. It's just impossible.
God no.
But I mean, it's still.
What about Metroid?
Oh yeah,
that might not actually even come out next year. I guess.
The as yet unknown real title, Metroid Prime 4.
That's not being made by Retro, right?
Yeah. Then we'll probably have motion controls.
And Pokemon. Don't forget Pokemon.
Freaking Pokemon. That's still not announced, though, right? Is it?
No, the rumored Pokemon Stars still not officially announced.
Because Ultra Sun and Moon are coming out right on the 3DS.
Because I don't think Stars was ever a thing. Everyone thought it was, but it's like, no, it's just Ultra Sun and Moon.
Well, Stars. The name Stars came from a leak of some description, but maybe
but it might have just been a project name.
Yeah.
For it was like their generic project name for the upgraded version of the previous game that they always do.
Could well be, yeah.
It's just they decided to make 2 of them because, god damn it, we have 4 games this generation. It's like Black and White 2. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh man, if they come out with a full-on Pokemon game next year on the Switch, they're going to crush it. This is ridiculous. That's never happened. Still,
it can't be next year. It just can't. I know it would be great if it was, but it just can't.
Yeah,
they could. We talked before about how, like, at this point, they should be pretty much just using assets from every system together.
Well, unless Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is only coming out as a stopgap to just be like, we just need something out.
Well, that's what they always do with their secondary parts.
But I thought, I don't know what is the turnaround on a Pokemon game from announcement to release? Is it?
Well, between like X and Y and Sun and Moon was pretty fast, I guess. It's only a few years.
A few years, all right.
Yeah, but I don't know when X and Y compared to the announcement of Sun and Moon. Like how soon after those games were done, they announced the next ones.
Then you're gonna have to start telling us about next year on the Switch fairly soon. I know they wanted to come out in a big way this year, and they've done that.
In a ridiculously big way.
Yeah, but what's next year?
Well, that'll be for E3. I mean, I don't think there'll be any.
But that's a long time away. They've got to throw in another direct soon. They've got to throw in another just random direct soon.
They do directs continuously. So it's like,
but they've done a lot of game-focused ones on ones that are about to come out of late.
They're not going to do an announcement-focused one. They're going to continue to do game-focused ones, but maybe occasionally they'll be focused on those games, like Kirby and whatever. All those Yoshi one.
I suppose the Yoshi one was Switch, yeah. But wasn't Kirby a 3DS game?
No, they're making the new Kirby on the Switch. They announced that at the same time with the Yoshi, where they all have generic titles but don't actually have titles.
I was getting confused with that Kirby Rumble game or something, which was 3DS, I think. Yeah. Because I remember seeing an icon pop up on my 3DS saying, "You want a demo? I've got a demo for you, mate. You want a demo?" That's weird. The Switch is set to outsell the Wii U. The first year of the Switch is set to outsell the lifetime of the Wii U.
Of the Wii U, doesn't surprise me. But I'm assuming that the Switch isn't selling close to as well as the Wii did, right?
One has to assume.
Yeah, can't even be getting close.
It hasn't been Christmas yet.
And I don't think there's been as much... No, I guess we could argue that there hasn't been quite as much stock of the Switch about as there was...
Well, with the Wii, there was never any stock.
The original Wii... Yeah, you're right. The original Wii was quite sparse. And I think it probably took like a whole year of the Wii before it really took off.
Well, the thing was, the Wii released and then was sparse at that Christmas when everyone wanted it. Whereas the Switch was released far enough apart from Christmas that they might actually have stock at Christmas.
You know what? I think it's about the same window. I'm sure the Wii came out like March-ish in this country.
I don't know. It seems a lot later in the year than that.
I remember it fairly early. I didn't pick mine up for ages because of stock reasons. Yeah. But yeah.
But regardless, they might actually have stock at Christmas anyway this time.
Yeah, and getting hold of a Switch, yeah. Regardless, getting hold of a Switch isn't difficult at the moment. You can just do it,
which is good.
Yeah, they sorted it out.
Sweet.
It's very un-Nintendo like. Should we talk about more Nintendo stuff? Should we talk about some games?
I guess so.
Yeah, let's talk about some games. What have you been playing, guys?
Okay. The big question is
everyone.
Well, okay. Do we want to go into the big one first, or can I get my Splatoon 2 stuff out of the way?
Get it out of the way, man.
Splatoon 2 is excellent.
Yes, it is.
It is excellent. But in I guess as the only one of us that really sunk a ridiculous amount of time into the original,
yeah,
it is more of that.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
It's not. I don't really. It's hard for me to call it Splatoon 2. Is my honest because it is just more Splatoon with the addition of Salmon Run. It's Salmon Run is the one new thing, and the rest of it is just like tweaks and changes and slight presentation improvements everywhere. I mean, if you want to look at it in that respect, it's like I do think every part of the game has been improved subtly. Things look that little bit better. Things generally are, the sound and UI and things like that. Generally, there's a bit more polish to it all across the board. And that's
not something that was unpolished in the first place.
No, absolutely not. But it is just subtly touched up here and there. Like character models of it are slightly improved here and there, and sound quality in some places. There's a bit more variation in spots, and you only have to look at the Splatfest to be like, oh yeah, no, okay, I can see I thought it was cool last time. It's pretty cool this time. I'm still went into it going, all right. I'm back in. I'm back in a big way. This is they've done just enough to keep it staying fresh and off the hook, and it's it's pretty great. I'm deep in it at the moment, to the detriment of playing Mario Odyssey, because I picked up both at the same time, and it's just Splatoon is the one that's grabbed me at the moment.
Yeah,
that's the one that has really drawn me in. Partly
you're
because
not
Splatfest is coming up.
You're not like a historical.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and I wanted to see the earliest Splatfest I could, and so I did. So I did that and tried to get leveled up. And it feels like leveling takes longer now.
Doesn't really matter though, does it?
Well, it unlocks your weapon sets, and I kind of want some variations on the weapon sets. I don't want different mains. I just want a different combination of main, sub, and special in some cases. And it's like you've got a level to get to those. You don't really even
get that though, do you? Because even the differences in the mains is more different now. Mains of the same class are more different, and then they have their sub weapons attached. There's only a few that are like the same and then different sub weapons.
I actually think there's fewer. Like, from what I can see from the locked list, anyway, because obviously I haven't leveled up far enough to have everything available to me, I actually think there's fewer combinations than in the original at the moment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there might only be, like, one or two alternates of the same gun.
Because like, my favourite from the first one definitely isn't there. Like, the dual... what used to be called the dual squelcher has been replaced by the dually squelchers, which I don't like nearly as much as I did from the first. Like, so there's some stuff I'm having to adjust to play. Like my current ones are just the regular Splat dualies. That's my go-to at the moment. It's a good all rounder. I would say that I think thus far my one criticism would be, other than the fact that it is very similar to the original, is I miss the map being on the second screen. I really missed that. That was such a cool thing of the first game, to not have it tied. And I know it's instant to press the button and have it show and then have it get rid of, but I don't think the just the quick glanceness of being able to just go, oh, that's what the map looks like right now, without having to press anything on the Wii U's dual screen setup was that was something special, and I miss that. I do miss that. And in my personal opinion, I don't think the music is quite as catchy this time round. It's still excellent, but it's not staying in my head as much as the originals did. And there might be one thing in the game that I might put up for a worst audio thing award at the GOTYs, which is a little disappointing for a game that I think has an incredible sound design. And there's one thing that just really irritates me after already spending far too many hours with it.
Go on.
Don't ruin it. It's the same for the game of the year.
I mean, I might as well say it now. The lobby music I find irritating. It's like, because it was a little bit irritating in the first one that it was always the same lobby music, and you'd hear that a lot because matchmaking can be very slow in this game sometimes, and it's that that's just all you hear for several minutes at a time sometimes, and it's like, that gets really annoying after a while.
Hold the stick down and pan it out.
Yeah, so I have been finding myself doing that, just using, because it has filter mods on that music now, which is kind of neat. Wasn't there before. Like you can just sort of low pass filter it so it's practically silent, but I have to be holding that thing down the whole time and not wibble it, otherwise I'll go. Although that is the only way to sort of stave off boredom now, because it's like, and make the weird do weird things like
just hit the buttons and have it say it over and over and over.
Yeah, and say lots of weird things and get the second line of vocals that you can't normally get. And yeah, so don't get me wrong, I think that's fun that they added that in, but it's like I still just don't like that. It's a worse lobby music than the original, and it's that's annoying. Also, I can't play Squid Jump. While I'm waiting for a room.
Yes, they clearly should have still kept a mini game.
Yeah,
everyone wants a loading mini game.
There's got to be something there. Yeah, so the omissions are that one omission is pretty obvious. Well, those two omissions, the map and the lobby game, are missed. They were nice things. But it's still excellent. I gotta admit, during the Splatfest, I think my experience with the game was actually slightly worse. I think it was matchmaking me into laggier games than I have experience at the time. Because lag in this game it's hidden pretty well. In fairness, its netcode is such that you don't really notice any lag ever, unless another player disconnects, which is still the most frustrating thing ever. Being a player down in that game is a friggin' nightmare. But you only really see it sometimes during some combat scenarios where it's like, okay, that guy was classic ones, like that guy is aiming 90 degrees to me and I've died before I've got close to him and it's claimed that he shot me. It's like, okay, that's no good. Or the splashdown seems particularly dodgy at times. It's like, I saw it coming, I got well out of the zone, I'm still dead. That's not supposed to happen. Or there is nobody here, and yet a splashdown happened. It's like, what? How did?
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
That's happened to me a couple of times where it's like it's a completely flat. It's not like. So at first I thought, could they have come from above somewhere and jumped on me, and I wouldn't see it coming? And then it's like, I can't figure out how they could have done that in this particular bit of level. It's like it's a pretty flat area, or I've been elevated.
Well, theoretically, you can splash down out of the super jump. I just don't know how it triggers.
Oh, wait, can you?
I don't know how you abort early out of the super jump to transfer into the splashdown, or how. I
didn't think that was possible. I didn't think getting out of the super jump was possible.
Yeah, I don't know how it actually works. Because obviously you wouldn't be doing that from spawn because you would have just died, so you wouldn't have had the splashdown. You would have had to jump to another player, presumably, to be able to actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, the splashdown has been today, in particular, because I've only really played Splatfest today, and it was just there was a good couple of times in that session where it was problematic, or it felt incorrect. Still can't use charges, as it turns out. That's a nightmare. I can't use those at all. But I finally found an affinity for the splatling, on splat zones especially. I love splat zones. It's one of my favorite game modes from this thing, and it's just the splat. I find the splatling super effective in that game mode. So yeah, I've fallen in love with Splatoon all over again. I might be playing it for a very long time again.
Excellent. Get your money's worth from this Switch purchase.
Oh, absolutely. Immediately. And I've barely touched the single player as well, which is probably a bit of a problem. I should put more time into it, and I do. I've only played the first 2 bosses on it, and I thought the oven was quite hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I came across it. And although it's a shame that because of the squid language and like everything's in like text at the bottom of the screen, some of the wording on some of the stuff, like when you discover the second boss, some of the things that are said are just like so on the nose. It's just like where even they are just like okay.
Yep.
It's like I love that they lean into it. It's just like they know they're dumb. Well, let's just roll with it.
The one thing that did kind of suck about the writing, I guess, in the single player Splatoon 2 is they clearly ran out of script. It's like they ran out of ideas. The last couple of I guess the last world, there's almost no writing at all. It's basically the text box comes up and just says what you have to do. It's like key, door, go over here. It's just like, I think you've kind of run out of ideas. Maybe you should just have nothing.
That's amazing, though. Oh, I love that. I haven't even got there, and I already think that's hilarious.
It's kind of funny, except for the bit where it's like really obvious, where it's like, if you can't think of something interesting to attach to your writing while you're prompting the player to go to a place, maybe just don't.
Or maybe by the end of the game, perhaps they didn't need so much of it, I guess. But yeah. Because there is quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
Is the other thing. It's like it feels like it's talking to you the entire time.
And that's why it does feel like it ran out. Yeah. Like we've used every possible conceivable thing that this character can say. Yeah, now I'm just stating the obvious character.
Yeah, perhaps reduce the frequency as they went through. Yeah. Splatoon 2. It's a hell of a game. But it is just Splatoon. If you want to put it like that. Yeah.
Which yes, hopefully it will get, or has got, I think it clearly has got a wider audience than it did on Wii U. So,
for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully the servers will be full of people playing for long enough.
Yeah, I do wish Salmon Run ran more often. I've barely been able to play it because of its timings.
The Salmon Run timings aren't that much of a problem, though, because at least it's a big chunk of time.
Or it's like a whole 24 hours, like generally. But yeah.
It's not like 2 hours.
But it's just been on bad 24 hours for me thus far. So
yeah, bad luck. Cool. Anyone got anything else they've been playing apart from the big one?
Yeah, I played some stuff, of course. Mainly, I occasionally had to stop playing Mario in order to I managed to sprain my shoulder again, and using controllers aggravates it much worse than using a mouse for some reason. I'm not sure why. Just must be something to do with how I'm sitting in my chair.
Yeah.
So I ended up still playing regular ass stuff like Factorio and things, but don't really need to talk about those. I guess I did play them. I played some more Opus Magnum, made some more video of it, uploaded those.
Made quite a few videos pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the point. I recorded my actual one playthrough, as it were, from the start.
And also, I don't know if you've been paying attention, they're pretty popular.
Well, that's because I uploaded them very soon after the game came out, and there wasn't many videos of it on YouTube.
Yeah,
surprise, if you're prompt about uploading videos, they get good views.
Well, and I suppose that's quite... in fairness, Opus Magnum was going to be pretty niche.
Well, yeah, I was actually surprised how few videos there were on YouTube when I started uploading my ones.
One of the few times we actually get criticism that makes sense on the Opus. One of them was just like, I just want to see fancy solutions. I don't want to see all this figuring out stuff.
I don't think that's a good criticism, though.
It's just the one, in fairness.
Well, no, I know.
We've had quite a lot.
We only get one comment a video at best. So yes, the one comment.
And there's been some I've been like, hey, there's not many people doing this. Good on you. There was a couple of those. So yay us.
Yes, exactly.
We don't get that much feedback.
But I don't think saying to some extent, yes, you can skip the boring part of figuring out the solution, but particularly with the Zachtronic style of puzzle solving, where it's so open ended, how you get to the solution is can be interesting in itself in some ways. Because if you're just looking for solutions and then just entering them into your version of the game and just being I'm done, that's not, you're not even playing the game even slightly.
Yeah, I know. At least it was one of the comments was praising one of your solutions because I thought I'd found a good one. Yours is better. Yeah. So we are. I think there is a level of intrigue from at least people that have played the game and then are looking for, can this be done better? Or how do you do? What are there any ideas I can pick up?
I have been thinking about maybe I'm not sure whether I might do it as a separate episode or just like at the start of an episode, but I was thinking I might go back and show some of the solutions where I optimize, because I've been playing it more than the recording. Like, the recording is me going through the levels as I come to them, and then while I haven't been recording, I've been going back and doing optimizations and new solutions. So those are maybe more fancy. So like, maybe I should
perhaps prepare a compilation video at some point of like, oh yeah, here's some highlights. Well, because some ridiculous.
Because
solutions.
I won't be creating those, I can just like go straight to them and just run it and say how I came up with the idea without having to go through the whole process. So like, it could fit in like the start of an episode or a separate one. If
like Zach's advanced techniques video or something.
Not that advanced, but somewhat advanced. I did record, because it has GIF recording, of course, where you can just hit a button and make a fancy GIF. I recorded one solution where I didn't even realise how fancy it was when I was making it. Because there's like a very precise moment where a molecule swings like between two moving arms as they're going past, and it like syncs up so perfectly. Nice. And I was like, oh, that actually turned out better than I even realised. Got love timing. Yeah, but optimizing that game is actually kind of interesting. I think it's maybe the most interesting optimization. I mean, Infinite Factory was pretty good for doing weird optimizations, but this game, because of the way area and like speed are so like, that's two completely different things. It's not even like close. Like, if you're optimizing for speed, ideally you want to be, because obviously each rotation only takes one cycle. Even if it's a maximum length arm, so you're turning like a huge distance, so you can use that to move large molecules around more quickly or whatever. Whereas in area, if you're trying to fit everything into the smallest possible area, then you've got this other ridiculous problem where you're trying to only move atoms on top of the things that you have to put in, like the bonders and stuff, or the exit and the entrance. You're like trying to keep the atoms on those things, so you don't ever want them to rotate off into free space to try and minimize the amount of space you're actually using.
Oh, right. So does that count as footprint then?
Yeah, the footprint.
Where things swing, not where you've built.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
So you're like, and then obviously you want to make the shortest possible rotations. Like, if you've got a one length arm that rotates one section, that only moves between two spaces. But if that arm's two length, it also sweeps out like the space in between as it goes past. So you're like, you don't actually want long arms, or you want to like have a piston arm that like grabs things and then retracts to the middle length and then rotates and then pushes out again. So you're like making all these ridiculous amount of commands to keep stuff manipulated into the smallest possible area.
I see. Yeah. How does commanding work in, like, because Space Chem had the thing where your commands were effectively on the track.
Yeah.
Is there like a programming layer to this where you can say
it's just a big bar at the bottom where you just put in what you want to happen in what
order. So it's less, that doesn't count as footprint or anything like that. There's
actually no rating for commands, which I thought it might. I mean, I guess technically that's still kind of cycles, really, because the number of commands, the longest one will determine your cycle count, essentially. The longest series of commands, which is where you want to move into parallelizing onto different arms or whatever. One of the easy tricks to get more cycles is just like to make a track loop and then put like multiple copies of the same arm, essentially, that just move out of each other's way as they move down the process. So you just have a loop that like picks up an atom and drags it to the exit, but then because that arm, normally you'd have to have it go all the way back up, but if you have another arm that's already there, you can just have it immediately start picking up the next thing.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty decent game for optimizational challenges.
Another game that sounds way too much like programming for me to play.
Yep. Always.
Should really be my thing, but you know, it's my job.
I feel like this one might be better, maybe. I mean, Infinite Factory should be the least like programming.
Also, I'm kind of not into, like, I don't know, Dan and I have talked about this before, like the whole you don't really optimize unless you have to thing in programming. It's like you make it work.
It's first. Very important.
Yeah.
Premature optimization, they call it.
I mean, I in fairness, I often get ahead of the game in some respects while doing that, because it's just like, I know this is going to be a problem later if I don't do it. But yeah,
but that's still what you do in this game. You make your solution just to solve it, and then you go back and optimize.
Yeah, I guess.
That's true.
Did Infinite Factory do the footprint thing in the same way? Like where if your 3D blocks swept over area, that counts.
The swept area. There was like various ways you could exploit that in Infinite Factory with like rotation
because of the 3D, I suppose.
Yeah,
you could because it only looked top down, right?
Yeah, it was a top down projection of what it swept. So if you wanted to keep there was some really if you wanted to be fully optimal, there were some cases where it's like you basically want to disassemble the thing so it's only one block wide, and then like use multiple inputs to reassemble the thing at the end.
Yeah, gotcha.
It was like fairly ridiculous and unnecessary, but yes, you could optimize it that way if you wanted. So yeah, there's that. That's pretty much it for other stuff. Let's just talk about Mario for a long time now.
All right, boss.
Super Mario Odyssey! There you go. I think that guy, Charles Martinet, is going a bit crazy for it this time around. I mean, he always does, but has he always done... He's done the voice ever since, like, Mario 64.
Mario 64, yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah.
I don't it's not like the other characters where I think they've had other people do them on occasion, or like the various incarnations of Yoshi and Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But Mario's always been Mario.
So...
That's an incredibly polished game.
Well, yeah.
I know, but even by Nintendo standards, this is an incredibly polished game.
It's also completely mental.
Yeah.
Like it like thematically, like it's all over the place. Like there's a million different like visual styles and things colliding all crazily all over the place in an amazing way.
Yeah, it's not like if we're going to talk about visuals and things like that, I don't know if like fidelity-wise some of it that comes together. Like Cascade World I didn't think looked that great to me. Like something about the way the grass looks. Anyway, but that's me being picky about
No, I know what you mean.
Actual fidelity stuff, like stuff the Switch couldn't do against the other platforms, which is fine.
Arguably,
that's arguably.
No, but
I know what you mean. But yeah.
What are we going to talk about first? Because we can talk about this.
Let's just start how it starts, right? Because it's off the bat bonkers. It's like just like the first Mario game where it just sort of drops you in it, right?
I don't know if it's the first.
Yeah, but like it starts on an action sequence that you're not playing, but it's like do Mario games really do that? Most of the time, it's like, oh, you've got a letter from Peach.
Well,
it's like,
okay. They basically cut like 2 minutes off of how Galaxy starts. Like in Galaxy, you have 2 minutes of walking down a street, and then basically you're in that same scene.
Right? Oh, really? I can't really remember.
Bowser's airship is at Peach's castle, and then he kidnaps her, and then the actual game.
I really don't remember the start of it. Oh no, wait, yes I do. Yeah, yes.
Like you've basically cut off a couple of minutes of pointless walking, but it's not that unusual. I would have said.
I guess not, but I guess you don't really know what how did Peach and Bowser get already dressed up for this thing? How did that? It feels like something
isn't
missing.
Already dressed up in that first scene.
Yeah,
she's still in regular Peach clothes.
Oh right, yes. No, it's only when you see her the second time that she's robed.
So what exactly happens? The Cappy basically attacks you and knocks you off, and then it's like, oh, sorry about that, mate. I'm going to help you now.
That's Bowser's hat. Bowser just has a mechanical hat.
It's just a normal hat.
But then where does... Is it just because you land in Cap Kingdom?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the only reason for it?
Well, and because Tiara is Cappy's sister, and he was trying to follow the ship, and then he saw Mario fall off, and then he goes...
okay. So Cappy never was in that scene?
No.
It's just Bowser's hat. Everything's about... Somehow hat throwing has become a real skill in the Mushroom Kingdom.
It's kind of interesting, like, why would Bowser have decided to develop that technology? Because it's like, when you've got this living hat... that can attack things, then it's like, okay, fine. But then Bowser was just like, I just want a really fucking fancy hat.
Can't he just curl his fireballs or something like that? Can he just... Yeah.
I mean, maybe he had the wedding plan, and then he was like, but as a backup to my actual regular fire breath, maybe I'll also make my wedding hat really a weapon as well.
A really powerful weapon.
A bit of me thinks it's like, it was just a spur of the moment thing. It's like, I seem to be on top of this fight. Let's just throw my hat.
But it's not. It's not. You see that hat later on, and it's even more advanced than it appears in the first cutscene.
But yeah, I like the idea of like just Bowser as like an emergency back. Like Bowser doesn't strike me as the type to have done like some hardcore training, right? Learning hat throws.
I mean, technically, his hat would probably weigh a lot.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the boomerang part of that whole process, you could imagine that if you just got hit by his hat, it probably would be not great.
Well, yeah. Bowser's pretty buff. But
it's also covered in metal spikes. Probably weighs quite a lot. Also, Bowser is like quite large in this game.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
I think he's kind of.
To be fair, he was big in Mario 64, wasn't he? He was huge. Yeah.
It was pretty chunky then. But he's back to bigger than Mario size rather than being the same size for convenient kart racing.
For like kart racing.
I was still thinking about like, I guess now in Galaxy he's probably smaller.
He's pretty big
he was gigantic for no apparent reason.
Right.
You see him at the end in the bathtub. And he's like, why are you so huge, Bowser? And Peach is just like tiny, sitting on a little rubber duck. That whole scene was like, what?
I've not seen that.
That's not in this game. I was talking about Sunshine.
I don't remember that.
The ending, where you go into the sky sauna, where Bowser is sitting in a giant pool of green water for some reason. And Peach is there.
Oh yeah, he was enormous.
Yeah, he was gigantic for no apparent reason.
Giga Bowser, basically.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's just a thing. Maybe that's secretly what Bowser does. He just gets big sometimes.
He just gets big.
But yeah, anyway.
Okay, I guess the water gets into his pores better. Like, yeah, he actually has
the pores get bigger.
He has a deeper beige.
Yeah. I think he has pores. He's a reptile.
The gaps between his scales get bigger. I don't know.
So you get down to Capkin Kingdom and can start running around. And then you realise that you have the exact full set of moves from Mario 64.
Well, because Mario's still Mario, I suppose.
Yeah, but he has the triple jump, he's got the long jump, he's got the backflip, he's got the side thing.
Well, I mean, Galaxy did that as well. I don't know why everyone still thinks, it's the full 64 set. It's like,
Galaxy did do that as well.
Did it have everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it had long jump as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ground pound, and it definitely had that.
The ground pound jump's new.
Yeah, that's the one that is actually new. And really,
and the spin, whatever the hell that's for.
Well, no, the spin was in Sunshine, so that's still technically not new. But
so that was flood powered, wasn't it? The spin.
No, you could spin and then use flood. It was.
Oh right,
it was a way to spray flood all over the place.
Yeah, I remember. But you had to jump to get it.
Yeah, it was a jump spin, not just a ground spin.
Yeah.
But really, the point of the spin in this game is so you can do the spin hat throw without having to use motion controls.
Oh right, that's really useful to know.
How do you do that?
You just rotate the stick until you start spinning, and then throw the hat, and it turns into the spin throw.
That's really useful to know.
Because I'm like trying to activate that with the motion controls.
I think the motion controls are my most hated. The only problem I have with it thus far.
I put the sensitivity up to maximum, and I still have to really jerk with it.
I left it at low, and it's totally fine.
I have problems getting it to do the action that I want. Like, if I want a spin throw, it will just throw it straight forward.
I do occasionally not get the spin throw first try, but it's not that difficult to get it to work, I don't think.
I kind of just don't want to be doing it if I'm playing it in handheld
mode. Well, sure. Handheld mode is a whole different problem. They actually should have done something for that.
Yeah, they should have done.
Well, it turns out at least for the spin one they have. I didn't realise that was a...
But I think
they've got buttons to spare, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. It's just like it duplicates A and X and B and Y.
But when R and L don't do anything, right?
R recenters the camera, so
right.
Just technically that does do something.
And L jumps you out of capture mode, right?
No, that's ZL.
That's ZL.
ZL. Or ZL, I mean.
Or ZR, even one of them.
Yeah.
The triggers do more stuff than the...
Yeah, that's crouch and get rid of capture, and the other one is something, I forget. It's really hard to remember what buttons you're actually pushing once you've learned to use them.
Yeah, it is.
I can't remember. I've struggled a little bit with remembering what button does what.
Well, there's really only 3 buttons, which is maybe, as we said, that it's a problem in the case of why did they not let you use these other buttons for other stuff? But there's actually only 3 buttons, like crouch, hat throw, and jump, and then just combinations of those make everything else happen.
Yeah, although like a fast swim is slightly annoying because you have to start doing a crouch ground pound and then hit hat throw or something. It's like a bit weird.
It's like I said to Rob. It's like I don't understand why they didn't just keep Mario 64 3D swimming. I mean,
I don't
3D swimming
that.
is awkward and annoying, but if you're going to have underwater segments, why not still have that?
I've only tried to swim once thus far in that bit of Cascade Kingdom, and I couldn't understand what the hell was going on.
But once you get to the big areas of water, you can actually learn to do it, and it's a bit
weird.
You
can just be a fish, which is much easier.
Which is much easier. Just capture a cheap sheep, and you're swimming away, and then you don't have to worry about breathing either.
Yeah, exactly.
Which just makes things easier. But it's a bit odd the swimming, but I think it works okay actually, having got used to it. But I know what you mean. Like the 3D swimming was awkward as well, so I don't know. Because it's got the kind of Mario Brothers where when you press the swim button, you swim slightly upwards.
Yeah.
It's got that effect.
Upwards, right.
Yeah. So that's quite good.
Naturally.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. And that is reminiscent of Mario Brothers, and that works quite well in 3D, actually. It's just the dash is a bit weird.
And not actually as fast as I'd like.
No.
For the amount of effort you go through, it doesn't actually make you swim that much faster.
No, it's not that good.
I wish there was a land dash. I actually think Mario runs a bit too slow.
Yeah, I try and use the long jump.
I know, but then you
end up rolling, don't you?
But I find the
the roll also is even faster.
If you're on an appropriate hill, but the long jump. After a while, the long jump sound effect gets irritating.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
that was true in Mario 64 too.
But I found it less irritating. There's something about the new one that's just.
Yeah, really I slightly agree with you there.
I think they should have. I mean, there is more than one sound effect, but sometimes it doesn't seem like it.
Right? Yeah.
It maybe uses the same one too frequently in a row.
I should just stop wanting to get places fast. Is basically my problem. But when I know Mario can run faster than he naturally gets up to speed doing so, unless you're running downhill. It's like it does get a little bit like.
I think you just get used to like playing Zelda constantly and constantly sprinting everywhere, and you get and also like there's a temptation to think that you can just go anywhere just because in Zelda you can climb anything. And of course Mario, it's a platforming game. Of course you have to be able to jump up to the thing. That's the whole point of the game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of annoying that you're just used to having these awesome traversal skills.
Although there does seem to be some sections that are like intentionally designed like you're not supposed to be able to get up here. But if you do get up here, here's some coins.
Yeah, like basically like everywhere there's every time there's a ledge or like a door overhang where it's like if you do a backflip and then get up there, here's some coins.
Coins. Although they're a bit weird how they're invisible coins, but they appear really slowly. So if you're trying to collect them, you have to kind of walk quite slowly.
You have to walk through it like twice for those.
Like you have to activate them and then collect them, which is slightly annoying. Yeah.
I was also like, you can ground pound and it reveals where invisible coins are, but that doesn't ping them into existence either. I was like, that should have been what does it. If you ground pound, it should pop them out.
Or as it turns out, you can use no eye sunglasses.
Well, yes.
Oh, right, yeah.
In that one specific place.
That's a really cool bit. I like the kind of granularity of the moons versus the stars. Like the fact that they're just the right level of like. Yeah.
Like, do you think it devalues it?
Yeah, that's what
I was wondering. Yeah, but there's so many.
I feel like there should have been like.
They've got the multi-moon, but there should be more of those, maybe. I don't know.
I feel like there should have been it's ridiculous to say about an open world game in this day and age, but I feel like there should have been one more type of collectible, and that should have replaced most of these moons. But I was thinking, make it
like moons are story progression or something, and these other things are worth something else.
No, make it like.
But then that might not have,
No, what you want to do is make the second the like extra collectible, make it like ship parts. So you still need a certain number of them to progress the story.
Oh, I see.
But they're less like important sounding than moons.
What to force you to do some side stuff as well as the main quest.
Yeah.
Or maybe the main quests give you a moon and a ship part or something.
Or some limited number of ship parts. Yeah. You need a few extra or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But even then, that's just like a psychological thing.
Yeah, it is.
It would still functionally be the same.
I'm quite liking it. It freaked me out a little bit at first, and I found it a bit weird that you just did a little thing and you got a moon. Yeah,
it's so frequent.
Yeah, and a moon comes out.
And a moon comes out. Yeah, stuff like that. But I'm actually I'm definitely coming around to it, and I think it does make it more of a kind of, and that makes it better for like playing on the go and stuff on mobile. You could sit down with it for like 10 minutes and easily like get a couple of moons. Yeah, exactly, which is nice. I think. And it doesn't have that whole. Well, I don't know yet actually, but it doesn't have the whole Mario 64 where you select the star and it changes the level type thing. Or it just.
No, I mean that's kind of
happens through the story.
Yeah, that happens through the story.
Your initial experience in the level is that.
Yeah,
effectively,
and that's quite good. I quite like that, and it shows you the level doing that. Go through. I mean, because if you're like a horde type, I don't know, certain type of player, you're like trying to ignore the story in order to collect moons around. But you might as well just plow through the story for a level and then go back and get everything. Really.
Yeah, it doesn't really work in your favor necessarily to be, because I'm sort of half and half in that, and like I am a little bit like that generally, where it's like, but I've got the side stuff to do before I do the main thing.
Yeah. But
it's like, but I learned fairly early on that that's not the most suitable way to play this.
No,
it's like you can sort of half it if you notice something and it looks like you can do it, then do it.
Well, that's kind of why where it's like you need a certain number of moons to move to the next level. That's sort of inherently letting you do that because it's like it's basically all the moons you could potentially find on the way to the story objective.
Yeah, because you could pretty much mainline the story, I reckon. I don't know, but you don't need that many moons so far to progress to the next area.
No.
I'm definitely hanging around behind.
It's generally just enough in the main quest, isn't it? Like,
or
well, as far as I've seen. I'm quite.
But they're not technically in the main quest.
Yeah.
They're like on the way to the main quest objective. You'll just, if you're paying attention, you'll find enough moons to progress.
Oh, it's just one in this crate.
Yeah.
For no good reason.
It's not that bad. I mean, sometimes, but they're inventive. I like that they're a little tiny little puzzle or a little tiny little thing. It's kind of cool. I get.
Bust off the ground.
Yeah, bust off the ground or in a crate.
But you have to notice the kind of.
It's actually probably the most annoying. Like in a way, that one's.
Oh, I haven't done that one. How do you even do that?
Well, with that one,
there's just one in a crate.
Yeah,
you'll find on the main story.
You have to go into a bullet bill to get it.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
It's not like butts off the ground and you actually just get it.
Yeah. Okay. That one's not. Okay.
Yeah, there's always something to it.
But then you can pick that up accidentally as you're like going through. Like if I wanted to get to the what do you call it? The sky camera.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one in the crate with the bullet bill or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. I just mean I haven't managed to get the one that's in a kind of cage. Right by that one, around the corner from that one. Anyway, never mind. There's a million moons, so there's no spoilers about one moon.
Moons. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how they're different colors as well. That's quite cool. I don't know. I quite like the kind of weird currency thing where you can use the local currency to buy the local outfits, whatever.
Well,
the purple currency.
I don't know if it's a good or bad thing that those currencies are just purely cosmetic. In some ways, it's like the purple currency is never going to like unlock something cool. It's just going to make you look funky.
Well, I mean, that's nice, but there was a couple of times where I was like, I wish this outfit did just have just a maybe not a major effect, maybe just a tiny bit, like the swimming costume in the main kingdom. It's just like, why does that not just make you just swim just a tiny little faster?
Or make you breathe a bit longer or something.
or maybe Mario should just occasionally animate in a way appropriate to his attire. Like, if he's wearing the cowboy outfit, a little touch of the brim.
Change the idle animation, basically, maybe.
Or maybe he should dance differently when he's in the presence of a radio.
Maybe.
Can we go back to the aesthetics? Because it is kind of mad. Yeah, it's all over the place in a kind of crazy way, in kind of a good way.
It's kind of cool, but I don't know if it's Mario.
No, that's the thing. It's not as cohesive as... Certainly not as cohesive as like Breath of the Wild. That's really cohesive, but like previous Marios, like Galaxy, for example, it's less cohesive than Galaxy. It's much more all over the place. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Well, that's already and I'm only Sand Kingdom effectively.
Yeah.
I've only opened up the way to Lake Kingdom, and it's like already I'm sitting there. Okay, Sand Kingdom is probably the most Mario I've seen thus far.
Yeah, it's nice.
But Cat Kingdom, and Cascade Kingdom, you're just sort of sitting there going, "Sorry, what?"
I don't know. Cat Kingdom was kind of Mario-y. Just the sort of black and white palettes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's
that concept.
I mean, that's nice. Yeah,
it's
and
cool.
Everything's felt. It's like a Yoshi game or something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Makes you wonder if the Wall Kingdom could exist, like on this planet.
But I think that's like I feel like they get away with having it be disparate because of it being different continents on the planet. Because like Galaxy, everything was the same because they were all weird space things that were just made by Bowser for some reason. So like they weren't like natural, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And they were made by Bowser, so I guess they would have been Mushroom Kingdom
themed.
Yeah,
I suppose
the culture of the Mushroom Kingdom shone through.
Speaking of which, like, everyone loves the New Donk City real humans. Whereas,
do they?
Well, I say love as in, ironically.
I mean, does this mean, like, okay, I've got a question about this.
I wasn't expecting, like, one to just appear in the Sand Kingdom. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Anyway.
I've got a question about this, right?
Yeah.
If real people exist in Metro Kingdom, right, if, like, human-type people, but it appears that the locals everywhere else aren't human people, does this mean that the Peach family at some point invaded the Mushroom Kingdom to take control of it?
Well, no, see, here's the problem. So you look at Mario, and you look at Peach, and even they're quite different, but you can sort of assume that they might be the same race.
Yeah, I'm ignoring Mario in my race theories right now.
Well, I think Mario's just, like, short and chubby. It's just, like, he's still the same race as Peach, I guess.
Well, I'm not even sure about that. Like, Peach
I'll give him that. I'll give him that. That's where I'm going.
I don't know, Peach, Pauline, and, to
well, no, but that's the thing.
What about
once
Luigi?
You get Pauline...
Yeah, Luigi's one of Mario's, like, big nose race, whatever that is.
Like, what the problem is, like,
honkers.
You can say Peach and Mario are the same if you want to give it a little bit of a stretch. Only a small stretch. Because, I mean, the whole problem with this is where do they fit in with all the toads that are apparently from the Mushroom Kingdom?
Sure.
But anyway, ignore that. The problem is, once you get to Pauline, who is supposedly from New Donk City, but she's as tall as the regular humans, but with the cartoon stylings of, like, the Mario race.
Peach proportioned.
Well, not Peach proportioned, though, because Peach is way shorter than Pauline is.
Oh, really?
It's just like, what is going on?
I actually, my theory is, right, that actually Mario and Luigi in particular, they're not any of these races. They're not the same. They're actually half New Donk, half Pinter. That's the only way you can explain that nose.
Maybe. Could be.
Hence why he went to visit the island in Sunshine. He's like, I have to see my people.
But yeah, Pauline is where it all goes horribly wrong. You could have maybe accepted that Mario and Peach were from some race in the Mushroom Kingdom, but then Pauline is just like, she's from New Donk City, but she doesn't look like a real human. She still looks like a cartoon.
Well, maybe this is a weird sort of side effect of power in the Mario planet. That it's like as soon as you get a position of importance, you get plastic surgery of some kind.
Nice.
Or some deity of I don't know, cartoons comes and goes. I must make fun of your position of power. Here, have a funny face. So, if you want to be a politician, you've basically, everyone's got to be Boris Johnson. That's what he's trying to say.
Right. Well, yeah. I like the Odyssey. I like the inside of it being like a kind of where they have cups of tea and stuff. That's kind of cool.
Who doesn't like a cup of tea?
Yeah, that's quite nice. And the teacups are like little hat-shaped teacups.
Why does this race of hats have hat airships?
I don't know.
Everything's hat-shaped.
Why do they have airships as houses?
Because I don't know if they're houses, I think they're just landed.
How does this tiny kingdom have the technology to build hat ships? Why do they need hat ships? They fly anyway.
Because every tiny kingdom has the technology to do something ridiculous in that.
But the hats fly anyway.
Maybe not for long distances. You don't know how their flight actually works. They never get that far off the ground.
Except for that one time where Cappy just sort of left the ship or whatever.
It's a looking upwards perspective. You can't actually see how high up he is.
I guess.
So yeah,
it's just hats. Everything's hats.
It's just hats.
It's all.
It's Team Fortress Mario.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean that's basically what the Crazy Cat sign is. It's the tower of hats.
It's the tower of hats. The modest pile of hats.
This game is pretty good, guys.
Yep,
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And now I'm kind of relieved that it's like what happens with amazing games is they get old to the point where you can't play them anymore on modern hardware. And now it's like, oh look, now I can play Mario and Zelda, and I will be able to for years to come, which is great.
At least in Zelda, it's like, well, you know, they've actually. That is enough of a formula tweak to say this is something new.
That's the thing.
Whereas Mario is, despite Cappy and despite that, I still think it's Mario.
Well, the thing about it is,
it feels more Mario than Zelda feels Zelda.
It's actually more Mario than to me than it has been for a while. That's the thing. It's like Zelda, was a series about tradition, and Breath of the Wild really broke that tradition in a quite an interesting way. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are the same, but I mean, it challenged conventions of the Zelda series a lot with the shrines and the open world stuff and everything about it, really. Whereas this is kind of Mario is more a series about innovation than tradition, and this is kind of an admission of. Yeah, Miyamoto got it right first time. Yeah, I mean, Mario 64 was basically perfect, so let's just do that and innovate and and put our creativity into what themes. Can we do inside that?
How many possible themes can we cram into a single bloody game?
Yeah. So, and actually, for me, that's great because they did get it right first time. Like the little worlds that are open and you can go around. And the mechanics of the running and jumping are basically the same. And that was
tightened up.
Yeah, to be fair, they were pretty good originally.
Oh yeah.
But tightened up. Yeah, and I like the cap stuff. So for me, it's interesting that it's actually not. It's actually more traditional than it's more old school and less innovative, but in a way that really works. So they've done it the right way round. If they'd had a Mario that was had some more like Galaxy or something crazy new concept like that, and then they'd done Zelda and it had just been another trying Twilight Princess or whatever, then that would have been not good. And they've done it the right way around.
I guess the break is that this is more. I know you say the little worlds where you can do things. This is more open world than Mario's ever been.
It's not that different.
Because the idea of courses isn't a thing. You got a star in any of the previous games, and that was it. You're done. You have to go back to the beginning of the stage.
I guess that's true.
And work your way through. This drops that idea, and that you get the thing, you're still in the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the only time the previous games did it was with the 100 coin stars. Is that right? And then if you got that, it'd be no, it's fine. You carry on. Whereas, even the secret stars were that's a course ender.
Yeah, are the multi-moons course enders? No, they're not. No, are they?
Some of them are because some of them teleport you out.
Yeah.
But that's why it's that's why the main story seems almost separate, because it's just normally you go through to the end of that story segment, you get the multi-moon, it teleports you back to the Odyssey, and then if there's another story segment for that level, then it basically sets you off on that new route. From the start of the level again, and it's fine.
So the Sand Kingdom one drops you back at the start, but then it's clear that it's different, and there's some obvious things right in front of you that are just oh, here's a thing you might need now.
Yeah, and it also gives you essentially a really fast way to get where you're going for that second. You just go around everything to the point you need to go to.
The Jaxi might be my favourite thing in the game so far.
I've not tried that.
That thing is fun to ride.
It's crazy.
Because I didn't want to pay any coins. I'm going to have to try it.
30 coins, man!
But you do it once and you never pay it again. It's not a repeated
cost. Oh, right.
Although I thought that at first, that it was a repeated shortcut system, and it's well, why would I use that?
Well, because you already have fast travel.
Yeah.
You already got fast travel,
And then I was then you found things.
And obviously you need to use it to get certain moons, as you would imagine.
And there were a couple of clues, and it's just okay, right, now I know what I need to do now. I'll do that thing. And it's fun. It's fun. It is bonkers. It's still, I think I'm still in the phase where it's at least still surprising me.
I think it will continue to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing about it. I think is that it will just continue to.
But then that encourages me to at least bog down once I'm finished the story in a section to try and get as many moons as I want there, because then I want to pace out the surprise, right? I don't want to go through the whole. I don't want to go through the whole game and then be okay, now I've got the grunt work.
As long as you get to the credits before Game of the Year. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think.
But then I might not feel finished out by the end of the year.
How long did it take for you to finish it then, Zeg?
I don't know, because for some reason the Switch isn't recording playtime on Mario.
Oh, what like the other games?
It says played 8 days, first played 8 days ago, and it's like, well, that's not helpful information at all. It doesn't record game time. I don't know why.
Like the review copies, like review statements clocked it in. Like if you wanted to finish the story, most people clear it within like 15 to 20.
Yeah,
and then there's probably about that much more content on top.
It's probably about that. Yeah, I would guess.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty big for a Mario game.
Yeah, pretty good. That's good.
You guys shouldn't have any problem finishing it by game.
No. I probably will.
Yeah, I definitely will.
As I said, the one thing is just as I say, for me, it's like I probably shouldn't have picked it up at the same time as Splatoon because it hasn't got its claws in me yet in the same way that Splatoon has.
You'll need a break from Splatoon eventually.
Yeah, I think I might be actually getting to that point already because I've just been.
You've ground out the Splatfest and that's a lot of time.
Exactly. I've played so much Splatoon this week that I think I might already be getting to the point. It's like, I think I have a problem. I think I might need to do something else. And
I still want to play Samurai.
Yeah, and in fairness, that is the thing that would
be different.
Well, I want to level. Oh, yeah, and we talked about it earlier, but like, I want to level up to get the better gear, right? And then once I've done that, then maybe I'll settle into it a bit more. It's just like I've got to grind this out to get to where I was in the last game.
It's going to take way too long, right?
I know it takes forever, but that's a good thing. It's great.
Also, don't forget you get like the XP boosters.
Yes, I've already burnt a few of those.
Get them in the single player as well. That's a reason to do some of the single player.
Yeah, I found my first ticket there. And yeah, burnt a few of those.
So anyway, Mario again.
Mario, I'm sorry, yeah.
What else do we need to say? I wanted to say, in terms of polish, I wanted to point out some incredibly tiny things that I was like, when I noticed them, I was like, oh.
So where are the gaps in the polish? So I checked out your bench thing. Do you want to talk about the bench thing?
Which specific bench thing?
So you had a theory last time I saw you last week that
sitting at the chair.
When you stand on a bench and he sits down, that he just turns into like a motion.
Stationary.
No.
Did you get it to actually animate?
Yeah, he was moving.
Was it a weird glitch that I had?
Yeah, I think it might have been because like.
Well, I also found a place where
he wasn't moving a lot. Admittedly, he was sort of just breathing and looking around casually, and a bird comes and lands on him, and it's like
right.
I was wearing a hat, so the bird was just sat on the peak of the hat, which is another, I guess, a little detail thing. Like, in order for them to animate the bird coming down there, I'd have to know where the peak of that particular hat I was wearing was.
Well, maybe.
So, that I didn't have that same problem. I think
a slight glitch.
Yeah, I think you getting static pose Mario with unending stare was probably a glitch.
I did also find a place where where there's a bench and I think the first time you go there, it's just an empty bench, but when you come back later, there's some people sitting on it.
Mm.
But for some reason, there's like some weird hitbox there, and you can just sit on the air next to the bench. So I was like, I found a weird glitch.
That's okay. I'm okay. That's funny.
But yeah. So in terms of small things that are like the classic ridiculous amount of polish that you won't even notice until you like suddenly realise. I noticed that there's actually like multiple different poses he makes when getting a moon, and it's incredibly subtle.
Oh yeah,
because it's just the hand.
Oh, just the hand.
Yeah, when he does the generic like jump up, hold up the moon when you just find a moon in the thing. There's actually 3 different poses his hand can be in. It could be the classic jump fist, it could be open palm, or it could be the V sign.
Oh right.
And I didn't notice that until I was getting like several moons in fast succession, and I was looking at it, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually a slightly different animation. How unnecessarily detailed."
Nice.
And there's also another thing that I noticed where, like, if you're wearing, I guess it must be certain types of headwear, but the only one I've noticed it on was I was wearing the snow jacket with like the hood. But when you're wearing that, he doesn't open his mouth when he's doing that pose because presumably the hood is like pulled under his jaw.
Oh, right.
I was like, wow, that's unnecessarily detailed as well.
Someone thought about that as well. Yeah. Well, I immediately noticed it's like when you walk through the smoke on the tops of the houses in Cat Kingdom, he gets smoky.
Yep.
It's like,
and if you throw the cat gets clean.
Yeah. It's just like, wait, what? I'm not sure you needed to model soot physics. It's
not really soot physics.
I know. But...
It's like a generic trigger.
I mean, it does make me wonder how many other places in the game are they going to use the sootness, or is it just there?
Well, you get sooty if you get burnt by anything, obviously.
Right. Okay. So it's basically the burnt grab.
Any fire attacks.
Right.
And the same equivalent for like snow as well, obviously.
Mm.
Like when you're in the snow, you get white. You get white on you.
Oh. Gross, Mario.
And and there's another incredibly tiny detail that I thought was cool, but it's too much of a spoiler to talk about.
Alright.
God damn it.
Save that for later.
But yeah,
save that for Game of the Year.
The last like 2 or 3 kingdoms, it really cranks up the ridiculousness. If you think it's already ridiculous, wait until you get towards the end.
Excellent.
Well, it's no spoiler because Nintendo have talked about it straight up. Sweet mountains in this game, basically.
It's not Sweet Mountain though.
Well, I mean, it hasn't got trumpets.
Mount Volno,
the
stupid food kingdom.
Sweet Mountain's a better name.
Well, it's not sweets, I guess. It's just
Yeah,
food. That's where the burning mainly happens. With that weird lava that they have. Just pink. It's just pink.
I suppose that leads me to the next thing, actually, because now I've got the Sweet Mountain music in my head.
Okay. Now you want to talk about Sonic Forces.
From Sonic Colors. No, okay. I don't want to.
I mean, it's not out
Sonic
yet,
Forces.
so you can't really talk about it.
No. But honestly, other than
I know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I know, because I mentioned this to you.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
The only catchy bit of music in this game so far has been the moon grab. I couldn't, at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to recognize anything else.
The music, actually, yeah, there's some funny stuff going on with that, like guitars and stuff in it. That's not
yeah,
very
so
Mario-y.
obviously.
Yeah, the Wooden Kingdom I got to, and I'm like, this is like quite strange.
It's Sonic music, basically.
Yeah.
Well, and also, like, there's some of the Mario Kart 8. Some of it's Mario Kart 8, like the big get a moon sequence with the sudden riffs going on. It's like, oh, this is like I've just won a championship, or like, oh, I'm starting a race in Mario Kart 8. This is, but it's not something you would normally associate with a core Mario game.
Well, I don't know. I think Galaxy had similar kind of.
Oh, did it?
When you got the grand stars.
They
were stars in that, weren't they?
I think moons again.
No, they weren't
moons. Never been a moon before. Yeah.
Grand Moon sounds better than Grand Star.
But yeah, the music is like weird.
Weird.
Like, I mean, they tried to make much more like varied music to fit with the varied levels, I guess.
I guess the kingdom-based music.
But some of them are a bit like atmospheric, really, not actually music. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, because when you have a really short loop that just repeats over and over, and you're in this level for a long time, that's not necessarily good. Depends how high quality it is.
I did notice that the music loops tended to be like the classic, like 30 seconds to 1 minute long in some areas.
Yeah,
like it's kind of classic game music length.
But a lot of the other stuff they do with the music is good. I like how, I mean, this is. Every game does this since FDL, but I like how it cuts into the 8-bit version when you go into the wars.
Yeah, it fades into it quite nicely.
I didn't realise that you could get moons in 2D, and it had the
8-bit version of
the 8-bit version of the getting moon. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, neat little touches.
Although I'm bad at 2D Mario, so that's sort of funny.
It's slightly not like normal 2D Mario.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's like, oh, it's like 2D Mario, but it's not. You don't have nearly as much like momentum.
No. It's not quite the same feel. And there are some complaints that it's like, why can't I use the D-pad or the D-pad buttons to control Mario like this?
Yeah, I guess.
I did know the only thing in like music. The only time I actually really noticed a music change, other than when you're not in the town in Sand Kingdom, was that the key of the music changes when you're in the electric wire.
Yeah,
like you'll be traveling along it and it'll be as it turns to minor, and it'll be like, and it's like, oh, okay. I did sort of notice the music shift slightly halfway across the map.
There are a couple of places that. A couple of things, not just the electricity, but there's a couple of other instances where, like, not even, I guess you wouldn't even call that music, it's like a sound effect. The sound that the electricity makes is linked to the music.
Yeah, it's the same key, at least, yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of other places where it does a similar thing like that on other music tracks, which works pretty good.
Speaking of music stuff, Zach and I were saying when we first spoke about this that it's a bit of a shame that they've downgraded the quality of the musical notes.
Yeah, they don't play a tune when you're collecting them.
It's like, that was like, why are they a music note?
Yeah, that's quite weird.
I know music notes have always been a slightly odd thing about Mario.
Well, it's just like
since Mario 3, it's like, why were they music block squares? Anyway?
Well, the music blocks is different
because they went musical in Mario 3.
Well, they made a note. They made a weird note sound.
I don't really think they did.
Doing, and they made different tones of it. Well, maybe
I'm
not in
sure
3.
They did. No, not when they were first introduced.
They did in modern versions.
Yeah.
But yeah, the note, like, it was. They didn't have to be notes any longer, I guess. It's like if they're not going to play a little tune as you're collecting them, they don't have to be notes anymore.
Yeah.
They're only there to be like a movement challenge.
Well, and
run along this path in a set amount of time. And
I guess to be recognisable from the previous games, right? Because they were that previously as well.
And to not be copyrighted by Pac-Man. They could just be dots, but then Pac-Man would come along.
Do you reckon they could? Do you reckon, like, just a dot that you collect that can't be a thing?
No, I'm sure it's not copyrighted.
That can't be a thing.
But, you know, what else are you going to collect? A series of tiny mushrooms.
That make you bigger every time you eat one. That's the movement challenge. You get bigger as you.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Ninty. You can have that one.
You probably find it in the game at some point. Everything else is in there.
Maybe.
No lives though, so you can't get one-ups.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at finding the health power-ups when I need them.
Oh right, yeah.
That
is a slightly weird shift for me, actually. The move to hearts over having just picking up coins. I keep thinking I could just pick up coins and be like, I'm helping.
Yeah, repair your health. That would sometimes. I mean, I don't know. They could have made it so like you pick up a certain number of coins and you get health, maybe, but but then that's too complicated.
Because there was one section with some Goomba towers that I just felt a little awkward to judge. Or when you get swarmed sometimes, and there's a 3D thing you're trying specifically to land on in the middle of this thing, and I just found those a bit annoying. And then because I had problems with those in terms of taking damage, it's like then having no way to quickly get health back. I
don't like running around with one heart left or with one segment left.
I don't like how the hearts only restore 1 point. They should just fill your free back up.
They should just fill it all.
They're rare enough that filling just one feels like a bit of a cop out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can you fast travel is all the problem?
No. Yeah. You can get health back if you pick up an empty moon, like one you've already collected.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's useful to know.
And some coins as well.
Yeah.
Got to get coins. Got to get a shit ton of coins. Buy stuff from the shop.
Those fat stacks.
Yeah. Stacks of coins all over the place.
Bouncing around fat stacks. Anyone else does that say at Mario at this point? Have we Marioed out?
Not right now.
Dan and I get further.
Maybe.
I know we've done our usual thing here, like by the sounds of it, where it's easy to rag on the little things.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
But it is pretty great.
Yeah. It's what you wanted, what one wants. I think
a lot of people have said that, regarding this. It's like this is finally this is the Mario game. Super Mario fan Dan Riker from Giant Bomb,
right.
He pretty much loves everything Mario related, regardless of what it is. Even he said, "Oh, this was the Mario game I didn't really realize I wanted after so long." And it's like,
well, I think a lot of, or some proportion of people are were kind of getting annoyed by like the new Super Mario Brothers all being the same.
Yeah,
whereas like they did release quite a lot of those in a row, and they were all pretty similar.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, they're not bad games. None of them are like I played New Super Mario Brothers U. And found that to be because I hadn't really played any of the new games. Yeah. Like I found it a really refreshing experience and well made experience at that. And actually having played new Super Mario Bros. 2 on 3DS after that, I think they have been getting better over time. U is better than 2.
And I also feel like for some reason an unusually large amount of people skipped Galaxy.
Because I didn't play that much Galaxy either myself, and I didn't touch Galaxy 2.
I didn't have a Wii.
Because it was like if you were coming straight, if the only other proper 3D Mario game you played before that would have been Sunshine.
Because Galaxy didn't. The other thing about Galaxy is it didn't really need the Wii, they could have thought of ways to get around the Wii waggleness, right?
It didn't need it at all.
So I'm surprised they haven't re-released it.
Yeah, that would be cool if they did re-release. Maybe they could do a double pack.
Maybe it turned up on Wii U Virtual Console because the Wii U could just use Wii controllers. But if it got re-released on Switch, that would probably be a sensible thing for them to do.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe they just want this one.
Yeah,
have this be the one on the Switch.
I mean, let's think of it this way: like any Wii U game, I think it would be sensible for them to put out again, right?
That's the thing, isn't it?
Because like Super Mario 3D World has kind of been on my list of something I want to play for quite a while, even though I could quite easily borrow a copy. I just sort of haven't got around to it, and it's like, if it came out on Switch, maybe I'd give it another look. Everyone keeps saying that there's probably going to have to be a Mario Maker sometime soon.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, that'll be next year, surely, sometime.
Maybe
end of next year. No, it's not, but it's still it is kind of though. It's a thing. It's a thing that's worth spending time on. Right?
Even if you might have to get used to fat finger controls to actually build levels, but there's no stylus.
True. Right, I think that might be it for our 200th episode, except we have a special bonus feature.
Which we have no time for.
Well,
right.
So this is going to have to be snap decisions.
It's not exactly going to be that long of a thing anyway.
Okay.
I guess not.
Just an extra bonus that Zeg is going to introduce.
Well, it's a dumb idea that I came up with, and then we made it more dumb, I guess.
Yeah, so it's double dumb.
For our 200th episode, for no reason whatsoever, we're just going to pick a random year of video games and see what came out of that year and analyse which game we think was the best of that year.
The years that we've been doing this podcast don't count. So
no,
pre-Saladcast years.
We already have Game of the Years for that if you want to go and listen to our archive.
It's one of those things. I wonder if, like, at some point in maybe another 10 years' time, or another 200 episodes' time, we could actually revisit years, because we might have actually played more games in that year, right, that we originally couldn't cover.
Even, like, beyond the last year's game category that we keep doing.
Well, I'm sort of the mind perhaps we don't do a last year that we missed, we just do, like, an old game that we discovered this year, like, from any previous year.
So let's see what year I'm randomly going to pick. I'm going to stop scrolling this.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. Hit one.
And that one.
Did you actually hit one?
No, I didn't. These hyperlinks are too far apart. Oh, 92. Oh, well, that's actually quite good year, isn't it?
Okay. That's quite an old year.
Oh, shit. What came out in 92 then? You're going to have to...
Yes, I'll run down. Should we just look at the notable releases? That might be the best. So we've got Dune 2.
Oh, God.
It's a fairly good game. It's no Command & Conquer.
It's no CNC.
Dune 2 was okay. Better than Dune, obviously. Mega Man 4, we don't care about Mega Man, so...
No.
Going past that. Ultimate Underworld.
Okay.
No, I never played it.
Yeah. Ultima 7. Because that's a different thing, by the way.
Okay.
Nintendo releases Kirby's Dream Land. That's a decent game. I mean, the early Kirby games.
Was that Game Boy or SNES, that one?
It was Game Boy.
Oh, early yeah, I played that. That was good.
Are kind of like all the same. It's hard to distinguish them from each other. Like when I'm thinking of Kirby's Dream Land, I'm probably not actually thinking of Kirby's Dream Land. I'm probably thinking of the first one, or
right, just whatever Kirby was just called.
Well, because all Kirby games are essentially quite the same even now. What else we got? Oh, Wolfenstein 3D for MS-DOS.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
That is a pretty big deal. Not, it's not Doom.
No, but it's the first id game.
Yeah. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Actually, is it the first id game? I don't know. Oh man, that's
like really quite a bad LucasArts game.
Yeah, I remember playing that.
Comparatively speaking,
not liking it at all.
Oh, in fact, yes. Echo the Dolphin.
Oh, yes.
I know that's more important to you than to the rest of us. I've always appreciated Echo from afar.
Well, it's important that it's not Echo 2.
Right.
The first one.
I'm looking ahead in this list and I can see what the best game is, so carry on.
Okay.
We've got Super Mario Kart.
Woo.
Yeah.
Good one.
Championship Manager for the Amiga and Atari ST.
I mean, that's quite an important release.
That's pretty good, yeah.
That's quite an important release of that, yeah.
Art of Fighting in arcades from SNK. I guess
I wasn't really aware of it.
Virtua Racing.
Yeah.
3D polygons.
It was pretty great.
Zool!
It's pretty not great.
Zool!
I used to think that game, like...
You used to think that game was good because it was one of your Amiga games.
Yeah. But it's not.
No.
It's not.
It goes on to become the best-selling Amiga game. So that tells you something about the Amiga, I guess. Mortal Kombat.
I mean, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
I see what you mean, Dan. It's got to be this one.
But wait, Sega releases Night Trap.
There we go. Boom.
Like a Night Trap. Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. I didn't really like that.
I never played it.
I didn't like the land games.
They were odd.
I like the music.
Mario. Yeah. The music was for the first Mario Land, at least.
Yeah.
And the pop song remaster.
That's why we like that music. We like the dumb pop song that was based on that music.
I've never found that.
I wouldn't even call that a pop song. It was almost rap. It was like bad rap.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Star Control 2. I mean, sure. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. There you go.
There you go. There's the winner.
I will fight you for anything else on this list.
Alone in the Dark. Flashback. And Mega Man 5. Well, they released Mega Man 4 and 5.
Wow.
Jesus.
They really did just crap that out.
Right. So,
I mean, obviously, from my perspective, that's a no-brainer, right?
So,
Sonic 2 is one of the best games ever made.
If we wanted to narrow it down, it would be Sonic 2, and then what would we include? Maybe Mario Kart and Echo?
It's like Mario Kart, Echo, and Mortal Kombat, I guess.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat's not good, though, is it? The first one? It's not a good game. It's
not one you could really play now.
Well, yeah, but I don't think
you really want like Mortal Kombat 3 or something.
Are we counting continuing goodness? Because like Sonic is always good, I guess.
Yeah, I think we should.
Mario, even the original Mario Kart, I'm not sure that's as good as it was at the time.
It's not. You're right. What about good. Echo then? So we've got Echo and obviously Sonic.
I think Echo's still pretty good.
Yeah,
I think
Echo's
you could still play Echo today.
So that's all Championship Manager you could probably play.
It's a different situation.
Yeah.
Dune 2, I guess that's still playable today.
No, not really. Not like Command & Conquer is.
I mean, it's more playable than Dune.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a different game than Dune.
I mean,
Dune 2 Dune 2 predates Command & Conquer, right?
Yeah,
it
was like what?
Yeah, we're talking 3
years
earlier, aren't we?
RTS. In a way.
CNC was 95. We're looking at 92.
So both, you could argue that both Dune 2 and Wolfenstein are kind of the progenitors of their genre.
Are. But they're not the best game of 92, are they?
Well, no, I suppose you're right. Yeah, they're incredibly important in the pantheon of games.
Yeah. If we were talking Doom or something, it'd be different. But because it's not Doom, it's Wolfenstein. It's not as good as Sonic the Hedgehog 2, is it? Let's face it.
Yeah. Yeah. Undoubtedly.
Echo's pretty good though.
Yeah.
But that was quite easy.
You know what's interesting about this list, actually? Like we may need to find another list. Is because this was the year that the SNES came out in Europe, and there's no Super Mario World. Did World not make the SNES launch?
Super Mario World. I mean, Super Mario
SNES
World
released in Europe and Australasia, though.
Well, I mean, it would have already been out in the US, but like...
EU. So, Japan, 1990, Super Mario World. North America, 91.
So we got...
EU, 92.
There was that much of a gap for us getting the SNES.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, Europe didn't care about the SNES, really.
We weren't the biggest
Nintendo
purchaser.
didn't think Europe cared about the SNES.
We definitely weren't the biggest market for it. That's for sure.
That's amazing. Imagine having to wait 2 years for Super Mario World to come out in Europe. That would be a pain in the arse. That game is, I prefer that to Sonic 2, but that's me.
Many people would, I suppose. But
anyway, but that's not the same year, so.
No, I guess we'd have to count that as a 1990, I suppose, even if we were screwed on it.
So that pretty much sums up this theoretical game of the year. Sonic 2, and then maybe second place to like Echo.
To Echo, possibly.
In terms of games we care about, I suppose.
Well, in terms of notable games, according to this list, I bet there was probably some games that came out in '92 that we like even more than most of those.
Sim Tower.
Yeah, something like that.
When did SimCity come out?
Oh, it's got to be earlier than that.
1989. Jesus. So when did 2000 come out?
Probably not 2000, presumably.
93. No, next year. See, now that would be competition. SimCity 2000. That was pretty good. Cool. Okay, so episode 200 of the Saladcast. The best game of '92 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Go and play it, or play Sonic Mania instead.
Yeah, play that, and you're basically
playing it.
Yeah, still just play Sonic Mania.
Yeah, check out our YouTube channel for Zach's frequent uploads of how to solve puzzles and shit.
Relatively frequent.
And I know it sounded like you were struggling for the name of that game, Dad. Do you want to give it a go?
No. Zachtronic's latest game, whatever that
is. Opus Magnum.
Opus Magnum. And we'll catch you in a couple of weeks for Saladcast 201.
Hey, Streets of Rage 2 also came out that year.
Prince of Persia 2 also came out that year.
There was a 2D Prince of Persia 2?
Apparently.
I didn't know that existed. Alone in the Dark?
Oh shit, Final Fantasy 5? Probably not in Europe.
No, we wouldn't have seen that. Well, I don't know, would we? Would there have been Final Fantasy 2 in America, that one? Or I forget which one was 2.
I think 5 was always 5.
Because 3 was... America's Final Fantasy 3 was Final Fantasy 6. So which one was 2? Masquerade, I guess. Contra 3 on the SNES. That's a pretty good Contra game.
Oh shit, Mario is missing. Obviously the best game of '92.
The hyper fighting version of Street Fighter 2.
Darkwing Duck? What?
Die Hard 2.
Oh Jesus, this list is a lot longer.
Yeah, I found a longer one on IMDb as well.
Yeah, we should probably just end this podcast and then we'll continue this discussion ourselves afterwards.
Here it is, we've got it. Mario is missing.
That's what I just said.
Oh, did you? I was not listening.
Good job.
Mario's missing. Best game of '92.
Well, it is missing because apparently I can't remember that it's been said, so he's more missing.
He literally doesn't stay in your brain for any period of time.
So missing. I don't know where Mario is. He's globetrotting now, so I'm even more lost.
Yep, he's all over the place.
Yeah, no, I think I'm getting into bad games now. Metroid 2.
Yeah.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
End this podcast. Stop reading that list and go over there and turn this podcast off.
Oh yeah, that is my job, isn't it? The Lost Vikings. Come on, a Blizzard game.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Lost Vikings was pretty decent.
The PC version had some pretty awesome music. Some of that Red Book audio, bitches.
Yep.
Right, I'm going to Mexico.
Look, in your space hat.
In my space hat.
Catch you next time, listeners.